everybody. The date today is Tuesday, September the 1st. We're into September now. September the 1st, 2020. It is 11:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is episode 98 of McRae Live, and I'm coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And on the program today, I have one of my favorite guests, of course, one of my favorite people. I'm not just saying that. I love this guy. I've had him on the show before. I'm having him on the show today because he had a big trailer that dropped today, a trailer that you guys have been waiting for. It's Vincente Disanti is on the program today, the writer, the director, the star of Never Hike Alone, and its prequel, Never Hike in the Snow, which was released today. The trailer for that was released today, and I welcome Vince to the show. Vince, how the hell are you?
Ooh, I'm tired, but I'm great.
You have been up since probably, I'm pretty sure I saw you share a tweet or retweet something at like my time or your time, like 4 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. I watched this because you were kind enough to send me the link yesterday. I watched it, and it looks great. It looks great. You know, the cinematography is great. The attention to detail is great. The mix is great. The sound design is great. You know, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this is exactly what, I know we're calling it sort of, the first official trailer, and with a short film, there's only so much you can show in a trailer without giving the whole thing away. But if this was a feature, this would be like a teaser, and whether it's a trailer or teaser, this is fantastic. I mean, this just whets that appetite. You know, the snow. I love the creative choice to have your lead in yellow. I think that's great. Really stands out against the snow. I think a bright red would have done the same sort of thing, but yellow is great. And then of course the yellow of the arrow, which I thought was a nice touch. Now I don't know if it's yellow for this reason or not. I tend to maybe look a little too deep into things. You can tell me. But I like the fact that it's yellow. He's in a yellow jacket, and Jason's, shooting the arrow at him. It's almost like it's symbolic of him in some ways. Like his choices that have led him out into the woods are going to, essentially come back to him. It's almost like the arrow, the color of the arrow is the representation of him defeating himself in some ways by going off into the woods. Now, whether that was intentional or not, I don't know, but I tend to look kind of deep into those things. I love whether this was deliberate or not. When Jason takes that step into the snow. So we have sort of, the low angle shot of his foot stepping into the snow. I love that that snow is like on the toe of his boot. So it's not a fresh boot. It's like there's snow over his boot as he takes the step. I like things like that. Oh, yeah. And then just the way you cut it together. I mean, it looks fantastic. No surprise here, of course, but it looks terrific. How do you feel about it? Are you pleased?
We're really pumped. I mean, before we got started, I had an idea for a trailer of what I wanted to do and kind of the story that we wanted to set up. And I think what happened was I was in editorial, and that's literally just like we lifted a piece out of the movie. That's the movie. And we were watching it in editorial, and I went, you know what, if we just cut this scene off right when he launches that arrow, that's going to leave a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And I think that's exactly what a teaser trailer should do. Right. This is a short film. It's 25 minutes. It's meant to be more of a pilot episode than a film. That's kind of like the shift we're making from Never Hike Alone, which was its own enclosed piece, this story about Kyle. Speaking of the red jacket, Kyle's jacket is red. So in this one, I was like, I need to come up with a good color for this character. What would look nice? Yellow is a very staple color of Crystal Lake. It's the old signs and the old t-shirts, the camper t-shirts. So I thought yellow would be a nice kind of bring back. And then we got a lot of slack for Jason having a yellow axe in the previous film, even though it was like, if they had an axe at Crystal Lake, maybe they'd paint it yellow. It'd be kind of cool. So their arrows are painted yellow. So there's like a symbolism to Camp Crystal Lake, a reference there. The way it would, I needed a nice bright color that would pop off and he would stand out in the forest. There's no place for him to hide if he has that thing on. So it was kind of like that. And it's not like a conscious choice that he would have made. Green would have blended in, blue would have blended in. Yeah. And then, you know, then we start to get into other characters, because I mean, every character in this film, getting a little bit deeper into it, has kind of like a color theme to them. Like they each have like they each represent their own kind of color and mood.
Right.
And so that was something that I really paid attention to in the production design of this film. And you talked about the editing. The editor is Mike Appy. He's amazing. He's a good friend of mine from Hofstra University, and you know, we've been friends for a long time. We played baseball together, and I was so happy when he joined this project. You know, he brought on a really good post team at Laurelwood Post and Iceman Audio. Ryan Perez Dapple has come back to do the score. I have to tip my cap to Brian Forrest, because that is him in Ghost Jason outfit.
All right.
I had to be behind the camera during that scene because we were shooting in a full-on snowstorm.
Right.
I mean, the day up, we drove up on Friday. It was sunny. There was no snow. And we literally were like, I had a list of names for like how we were going to change the name of the film and have to announce that and be like, listen, we're doing the same story, but there's going to be no snow.
So you were really like that far into it. Like you were thinking, holy geez, here, we're going to have to change.
We had no
name.
choice.
Yeah.
I mean, we originally, you know, we originally slid back production from December to March for a variety of reasons. We came up with some new ideas, and you know, our SFX team needed more time to get things done. So we shifted back, and we kind of just, and like the funny thing was we got snow right away. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be a good winter. We're going to have a ton of packed snow.
Right.
This will be great. And then it all melted. And literally every weekend I was checking the forecast, sunny, 50 degrees. And I'm like, we're screwed. And then literally the week of, the snow report came in, and it was like, oh, we're going to get a storm this weekend. And it was shifting. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't write this call sheet because we got to just go as soon as the snow goes. And we literally got up there Friday, and it started snowing at like 3:30 in the morning. We had a crew out by 4:30 a.m.
Wow.
And we were shooting, I mean, the opening footage of the film, there's a lot of drone footage and things like that. That's all of us getting up at 4:30 in the morning and chasing the snow. And then we shot all the way through that day, chasing that storm. And it was like perfect. Like the way the story, like like this scene is from the beginning of the movie. Right. I mean, we start off with a bang. This isn't no slow burn like the last film. Right. We know fans wanted to see stuff. They want to see Jason in action. We don't have to reset anything up. We've already brought you into our world. Now let's just have fun. Yeah. And, we were I mean, it was like Jason is the storm in the film. It's amazing. It's like the storm's kind of coming down at the beginning of the film, but when he shows up, it really starts coming down. And we get this really big moment. And we were really fortunate in that. And then the snow comes back in other places in the film. We jump around a little bit, and there's a lot more to go. But as far as a teaser goes, we just wanted to show people what they should expect, the level of production value that we put in this one, the improvements that we're able to make since the last film, how badass Jason looks now. We altered the costume a little bit. We made it a little bit better fitting. Just, you know, introducing Cortland as kind of the subject matter. And really what we want fans to debate and talk about is, what is this kid's fate? And with the other characters we have in the film, who's going to save him? Who's going to find him? What's going to happen to him? How are the other characters going to be involved? And like, really, I want them to play this guessing game. And then when they sit down and watch the film, I think they're going to be really surprised with the content that we're putting forth.
Yeah, it looks it looks terrific. I remember the last time we spoke, you know, I don't know if I should say that because that might be a spoiler, but certainly, you know, it's not a spoiler that this is a prequel that leads into the events that we saw in Never Hike Alone. Can you talk a bit about, sort of, without spoiling anything, maybe, or maybe you can't, what
I can.
You can or you can't?
I can. I know how to navigate around this one.
Because if you don't know how, then I think we're all gone here. So what can we expect from that in terms of it's a prequel, it's setting up? How does it lead into Never Hike Alone?
So Never Hike in the Snow is really I'm actually kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit, because it's actually more of the original idea that I had. I wanted to go take a look in Crystal Lake originally when I started Never Hike Alone, and just look at these one-off events that really kind of shook the town, but nobody could really like put their finger on what was going on. And because in Never Hike Alone, we set up this world where Jason has been missing for 30 years. We also know that people have still been going missing as well. We did the Disappear music video, which was an example of, this is kind of a day in the life for Jason when somebody walks onto his property. And that's a prequel, which is set 13 years prior to the events of Never Hike Alone. So this happens kind of like in the mid 2000s, like early 20 aughts. about kids kind of showing up in like this time after, because in our world, we're after Jason takes Manhattan, we don't count anything new line.
Right.
So this is a world where he's been washed out to sea and he's just gone into a, like, you know, he's just in the background somewhere and nobody can really prove that he's alive. And so before we go back into our story with Kyle MacLeod and Tommy Jarvis and all of these things, we wanted to set up, what is Crystal like? What is Crystal Lake like these days? Who are the people who live in the town and how do they all interact? And what is their kind of bond?
Right.
And then seeing what it's like at the beginning of this story and how it changes over time in the arcs of these characters and how this event is going to change them. So this is kind of like, this is life before Kyle MacLeod is the way I like to put it.
Okay.
And this is how things kind of went down and how people would react and how information would get passed around. And then what we see in Kyle MacLeod's story, when we pick up with the next episode, which is Never Hike Alone 2, Never Hike Again, we're a little bit more into Tommy's story and kind of how he meets Kyle MacLeod. And then you're going to see, once we get to that moment again, how life in Crystal Lake is going to change. And Jason's no longer a secret anymore.
Right.
He is, everybody knows he's there and he's wreaking havoc, and how the people of Crystal Lake are going to react to that now that Kyle has actually survived this tale and drawn Jason out with him. So now Jason's actively trying to get at him because Kyle has information that he doesn't want him to have. And we don't know what that is yet. We're going to reveal that in the later films, but we're setting up more character and continuity. So people feel like this is a real universe and not just a one-off piece. It actually expands out. And that's kind of the cool part of bringing Tommy Jarvis in. We have Sheriff Rick Colon coming back, Vinny Guastafara. And they play a pivotal role in this episode. And then there are the other people that are involved. Like we have Anna Campbell, who plays Cortland Gordon's mom. It's Mark Hill and Diana Hill. And then we have a deputy, Alan Mabry, which is also played by Brian Forrest. So Brian Forrest does double duty in this film. He plays Jason and he plays Deputy Mabry. And then him and I switch in the costume.
Okay.
So on the days when it wasn't a full-on snowstorm, we were able to do the dual costume on set and swap in and out and do that stuff. But you know, I got to give credit to Brian. A lot of people have been like, Vinny, great job as Jason. I'm like, no, that's Brian.
Right.
But Brian does such a great job of, we work together. So we're playing the same character.
Right.
And so you can't tell which one of us is in the costume. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah. And both of you are about the same size, right? About the same height.
Yeah. I'm 6'3", he's 6'2".
Yeah.
We both weigh about the same.
Right.
When we put the suit on, it fits us pretty much the same. I mean, we're like distant cousins.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's important because, you know, you certainly don't want to have me in the outfit as Ghost Jason. I'm just saying, listen, I mean, yeah, exactly. And I hate that. I'm 5'8", and there's certain characters like Freddy, you know, I could do, you know, wear some boots. It might get me to 5'9", 5'10". That's fine. Original Michael in some boots, maybe. Jason, no. Stormtrooper, yes. Darth Vader, no. I've always wanted to be Darth Vader, but then I'd look like an idiot.
Need the lifts.
I would look so stupid.
Get some platforms.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of people would be looking down at me like, okay, there, Vader.
Yeah, right.
This sounds so cool. Like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things going through my head. Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, Never Hike Again. That's not the final one, though, right? You have
no. So what ended up happening was I wrote Never Hike Alone 2 almost immediately after Never Hike Alone. I mean, I had the story and the conclusion for how this all plays out with Kyle MacLeod right away.
Right.
But when I looked at that script, it's a feature script. It would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to create, and at the time, we were only able to raise at best $50,000. So another thing that was going on was, every time I saw somebody posting about, like, I'd see comments on Never Hike Alone, comments on other fan films, but everything I saw was like, what I really want to see is a winter short. I want to see a winter film.
Yes.
I want to see a film set in winter. So in 2018, I actually set out into the forest during the winter with my photographer, Ashley Covington. We shot a bunch of kind of concept thoughts about what we would do. And originally it was going to be like a hunter that accidentally shot Jason with a bow while he was like winter hunting. And then I did some research and realized people don't go hunting in the winter. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Don't? I wouldn't have known that.
I mean, they do, but it's not as popular. And what the hell are you going to hunt with a bow in the winter? Like, yeah, so it was just kind of like, it just didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden I started, it became this kind of, again, with me and these 5-minute ideas. I was like, it's going to be a 5-minute idea. We'll do a little setup and blah. And then all of a sudden I got the inspiration to come up with the idea for, what if a kid in Crystal Lake went missing? How would the town react? And how would they do that? And I went, wow, that's a really powerful piece. And that's when it all started to change. It went from that 5-minute idea to now a 25-minute idea, turned into a pilot episode.
Yeah.
And then I really focused on, if we're going to do this, this isn't just like a showpiece to put blood in the snow. This is also something that should add to what we want to do later.
Right.
And when I looked at the feature script, I said, we could do episodes. We could make this like a mini series, like The Stand, or, something that it only comes through once, like A Haunting at Hill House. Obviously we can't do 12 episodes,
Right.
but we can do 4. We can take the feature film, split that up into 3 episodes, manageable budgets for each episode, and then create this prologue, which was kind of both a setup for everything, giving Jason kind of his own story in this film too. It's cool. I think fans are really going to dig into like some of the Jason backstory we get into. We don't necessarily do like flashbacks or anything, but we spend a little bit more time with Jason in his natural environment, which I think if you like the Disappear music video, you're going to get a little bit more of that.
Right.
And so we kind of looked at this like, oh, this is a template, not only for the series, not only as a pilot episode, but let's see if our new theories on how we can produce these films is correct.
Right.
And we won't make the mistakes on Never Hike Again. We can kind of test this out doing Never Hike in the Snow. And so give the fans what they want, put them in the snow, add to our story, and get a chance to see how much money we can raise this one to make sure that we can raise enough, execute this, and then step into the next episode with a little bit more confidence, with a little bit more, people understanding what we're trying to do, our level of quality, prove ourselves. For anyone who watched Never Hike Alone and said, oh, well, I like it, but it still has a fan film quality, or it's still not quite there. We wanted to show them like, no, we were right there. If we would have had this money the whole time, it would have looked like the best parts of the movie the entire time. Right. Now we have that. And so that's what's nice, is be able to present this material and then come back and say, okay, now we want to make a feature film. You can either fund the entire feature or fund them one episode at a time.
Right.
So it goes Never Hike Again, Jason Takes Crystal Lake, and The Final Hike. And so each of them are very specific sections of this film and very specific locations. It breaks the locations out so we can, shoot pretty cheaply instead of having to jump around a lot and do long days or long scheduled shoots. But don't get me wrong, if we raised over $300,000, $400,000, we would go and just shoot the whole thing.
Right.
So it's a matter of if we can build that momentum. And we made $100,000 with this one. We made the film for about $50,000. The other $40,000 that was left over went into the perks. We still have another 10 to 15 of that we had to save. That's going into the printing the Blu-rays and shipping them all over the world. We have over 1,400 pre-orders right now. Right. And with the release of the trailer, we just launched a brand new Indiegogo. So people can put in their order for credits in order for a Blu-ray. We think we're probably going to get a couple hundred extra on that, if not more. So, so we had to people, like we were talking about this before we went on, people to see big numbers on Indiegogo and not realize that like half of that's going to your perks. That's right. Because people have spent money on shipping. People have spent, it's like if I sell a shirt for $30, I've spent $10 on the shirt. So I'm only getting 20.
That's right.
And then I'm the shipping and all that stuff. So, we were able to make this for the same budget as Never Hike Alone, but because we had it all up front and we were able to give that to our VFX artists, 3 months ahead of shooting, we had everything built for the film. Right. So we were able to go out there, a better camera setup. We had a better base camp. We were shooting in the snow. We had to get a motorhome because if not, we would have froze to death. So there were extra costs for this one. And then when we shoot in the spring, we'll probably be in a better place where shooting can actually get a little bit cheaper. And we can do a little bit more with what we have.
Yeah. Amazing. And I saw some behind the scenes photos. I went to your Facebook page, behind the scenes photos. Did you have a Dana dolly out there as well?
Yeah,
you did.
We had a Dana dolly, we had rails, we had a crane.
That's great.
So all the shots of him doing the arrow, that's on a crane, articulating crane head that we used quite a few times in the film. There was drone footage, and we got a few other surprises in there for you.
Amazing. Found some fun stuff no, it's good. It's good stuff. It looks great, and one of the things that I think is what's very apparent, and I said this about you when you were on the show last time, a few months back, but it's you're very prepared. You're able to articulate exactly what the story is to me. You're able to articulate the sections, the pitch, so to speak, and what you can tell that you've been thinking about this. And it's not just about blood, guts, and gore. It's not just about, putting Jason in the snow and seeing red all over the white. I mean, that's cool.
Oh, it's part of it.
Well, exactly, but it's not just that. And
but it's an accent. It's the icing. Right. It's got to be on top of a cake that tastes good.
I was just gonna say, you have to have the cake if you're gonna do like if, for example, if Never Hike in the Snow was a 3-minute short film. And that 3-minute short film was your trailer. And instead of the trailer cutting before we see what happens to your star and the arrow, maybe the trailer ends, the film ends with him getting the arrow in the back, and I don't know if he does or not. I really actually don't know. But let's say he does, and he falls to the ground, and there's blood spewing everywhere, and that's the end of the short film. I mean, that's a great little short film there, right? Doesn't need a narrative really or substance. It's just a really sort of almost like a
showpiece.
Right, exactly. Hey, that's great. But when you have something that's 25 or 30 minutes long, you know, I think fans are... I don't think this, I know this, for better or worse. Nobody personally in the chat room. I'm not talking about anybody personally, but for better or worse, fans can be overzealous and crazy. They can be crazy, but you know, fans are smarter today, and they demand more. And you know, Friday the 13th isn't known for its thespian acting or its Shakespeare writing, and but what you're doing is you're bringing the flavor of Friday the 13th back, and yet you're connecting it to the films that people enjoy, to the original series. But you're not, I don't know, it's done in a really sort of there's a lot of TLC that you can tell. And I'm not just talking about the production value. I'm talking about the attention to the story, and really thinking about the continuity and what makes sense here, leaving some room for interpretation and dangling that carrot because you got some installments. You know, you don't want to reveal everything up front at all at once. But I like that there's this attention to detail and care in terms of the continuity, and does this make sense? You can tell that you're thinking that way.
Well, I think that was one of the things I've always wanted out of the franchise. I used to watch the films, and so my gripes with the film were the continuity is always changing. Why can't we get two Jasons that look alike? Why does the story shift so dramatically? Why is there all of a sudden telepathy and going to New York and all these things? It was just like going all these different directions. I was like, I just want... Yeah, Vancouver. I just want one. I'd like to see a string of films that felt like it's one solid storyline. And I always gravitated towards the Tommy Jarvis storyline because it followed a character through 3 films, 3 different arcs, you know, a progression of character. It felt like it was building towards something. And if the series had ended at Jason Lives, I mean, that's a great ending.
Yeah, it is a great ending.
You know what I mean? They obviously didn't like completely destroy Jason, so it left the world open for it to keep going. But I really felt like what I would have loved to have seen at some point is a film where we actually get to see like the final conclusion. I mean, obviously it will never be the final conclusion, but a final conclusion we could be satisfied with, because part 7 kind of undid that. Part 8 wasn't a great satisfying ending. No. You don't want to think about Jason endings getting washed out into the Hudson Bay or Chesapeake Bay or wherever it is. And then Jason goes to hell. They blow him up in the first 2 minutes, and that broke my heart. And that's not what I wanted to see. Movie. And then it just kind of like, and then everything after that just was kind of wishy-washy. And you know, as times progressed, obviously times have changed. The audiences in the 80s and what they wanted out of horror movies is not what horror audiences want now. No. I mean, the term elevated horror, which for better or worse has changed the horror game. It's a lot of people are gravitating towards the horror films that make you think, that talk about, you know, that don't just bring you the blood and guts, but also deliver on a story and drama and characters. And that the more you can connect with these characters and relate to them, the harder it is going to see to watch them die. Right. And so that's one of the goals with this one, is to really connect us with our characters. And just like with Kyle MacLeod, root for somebody, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like want somebody to live and want characters to come through and defeat the villain. Like we all love Jason, but we shouldn't be rooting for him. Right. You know, we should only be rooting for him every now and then. You can get a couple scenes every now and then, but you can't spoil your film with a bunch of cutaways to killing a bunch of characters that don't mean anything to the story. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, if every scene in your film, you're cutting to a new set of characters that then die within that scene, it's like, what is this? Like, where's the story? Who am I supposed to be following? And why has it been 10 minutes since I saw the character I'm supposed to be following through this movie? Right. So in this 25 minutes, we really push through, and each scene delivers something, teaches you something new about some of the characters, delivers a little bit more information on the story, and then pushes you towards the conclusion, which is like, what's going to happen? Like, how are they going to, how are they going to find him? And I think that I think that that's what's going to make it a little bit different from Never Hike Alone. Never Hike Alone was a survival movie. And this is the best compliment I got from my team, from people who watched it, was that it felt like an episode of True Detective. is that it felt like, and again, I also say like kind of Stranger Things in a way, where the Stranger Things way it starts in the pilot with the child going missing. It's like the series is starting, and now you're meeting all these characters and you're seeing them on stage one. And now that's what we're trying to set up is,
Right.
again, this is a pilot. At the end of this episode, you're going to have questions and you're going to want the next episode right away. Unfortunately, we didn't raise $600,000 to make every episode right off the bat.
Nope.
But I think we want fans to be like, I want more at the end of this. And then we're going to come back and they know that we can deliver it. So we just need that support from fans as we keep going to say, we have a story. We know where this is going. Everything's going to pay off. We promise. And when you look back and watch everything at once,
right,
and you can binge it, it's going to feel really good. But in between, you're going to be like, I need the next one.
Yes. Well, that's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, that's what a good film should do. It should leave you wanting more.
Yeah. You know, I said to Bruce in regards to It's Me, Billy, I said, you know, cause you know, again, you know, people have asked us, you know, how long do you think it's going to be? And I'm thinking, well, like, you know, I don't know. I said, but probably 25, 30 minutes, something like that. Ballpark, you know, based on the script, maybe a smidgy longer, but nothing huge. And I said, you know, one of the best compliments, you know, you can sometimes get is when somebody says, fuck, that was too short, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no way. Ah, you know, because nobody says that with a movie they don't want to see more of, you know, or that, you know,
right.
they don't like. Right. So, what was my question? I had another question. I was going to, I was just going to say that, I mean, clearly the demand is there. You know, I mean, you created Never Hike Alone and you go into the campaign for Never Hike in the Snow and you never really, like, you can sometimes gauge sort of maybe what the response is going to be. You know, there's a lot of people that really like it. You know, it went viral for all intents and purposes. You know that it's, you know, people, you know, there are some people that consider it canon. It was even mentioned on the, the special features of, part 6. Am I not mistaken?
Yep, in the new Shout Factory, they brought on Vinny and Tom to do some commentary, right. And they bring it up,
right,
working on both films. So I mean, it's,
yeah,
you know, it's cool. I mean, I've been sort of like orbiting around the actual Friday the 13th franchise as kind of like a guest of the real alumni, but being acknowledged and being welcomed in by the fans has been really cool. Yeah. And, you know, I don't think that we've really tapped into the entire Friday the 13th market. I think we hit that crowd that, like, the ones that are willing to go to conventions and meet people and, like, are really into it no matter what. Right. And then I think there's a lot of casual Friday fans out there who really aren't interested in fan films. They've had a bad taste in them since the early 90s. And they're not really willing to give us a chance. And I think with each progression that we make in this, we dig a little bit more into that group and we get a little bit more out there, because I've said it before, if every Friday the 13th fan in the world gave us $5 just for a screen credit, we could make this movie and more.
Yeah. I've often said that too, that, you know, when people who donate to the campaign, because obviously, like I said, I had a sort of a failed one. We don't want to talk about that. That was years ago. This is really sort of the first kind of real hardcore, you know, everything in that, you know, we've done. And one of the things that I notice, and, you know, I say to people too, it's not, if somebody comes in and drops bombs, I mean, that's, you know, it's always great. But at the end of the day, it's really about a lot of people buying a lot of the smaller perks, because it really adds up, you know. And what are you laughing at?
Yeah, and it adds up in the credit list too, because our film's 25 minits long, and our credits are like, we're trying to crunch them down. There were 7 minutes at one point because there's so many names, and we're going to add more. The editor's going to kill me. Well, we were talking about it. We were talking about it in edit the other day. He's like, hey, when we do this at festivals, like, the one thing I love about festival shorts is when they get through their credits real quick.
That's not going to happen. People, if somebody
it's not going to happen with us. We're actually going to have a festival version where we cut out the credits. We're just like, go to IMDb.
It might, yeah, you may have to.
The next piece. No, really. I mean, it's just a courtesy to the other films that are in there, because no one wants to sit through 7 minutes of credits.
No, especially with names
in a shorts block.
Right. And especially, no disrespect to anybody, of course, names, of course, you know, they wouldn't know. No, you're right. I never thought of that. It's true, because we're going to have about 600 and something names. So that, I mean, that can take up a couple of minutes too. So
3 columns, my friend. Three columns.
Oh yeah. I might, if I can make 4 right on the edge.
Yeah, I know. As long as you can still read it, we might have to go to 4. I got to talk to Mike about that and be like, I don't know if the names are going to be big enough. I know they'll be big on a big screen, but we want people to see their name. I mean, that's kind of part of it. And that's the cool part, to see all those names, all those people came together and trusted you with all that money. It's like,
it's wild. It's wild.
it's,
You know, I know, you know,
yeah.
you have more experience doing this than I do. And but it's wild, you know, and it's
Mhm.
so humbling.
It's exhilarating.
It's exhilarating.
It's exhilarating to feel supported.
Yes.
It's exhilarating to have the resources to do the things you want to do, and you're
Yes.
not chasing after the thing. You're
That's
not
it.
making do. I mean, you still have to make do. It's not like
Yep.
we all of a sudden we walk into Warner Brothers with our 50 grand and we're like, we're ready to go. I mean, like you could literally spend that 50 grand in the first 20 minutes at Warner
That's
Brothers.
right. That's right. Yeah.
So, but smart independent filmmakers can take that and stretch it a long way.
Right.
And like, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that were like, if I had $50,000, I could do an entire feature. And I was like, that'd be great, but I'd love to see what your special effects look like in the end. And
Right.
I'd love to see how much you were actually able to tie together and what you were able to do, because I feel like you want to put more money on the screen per minute than stretch it out over a long piece of time. Make every frame, make every shot, make every scene count.
Right.
And that's what's important, rather than trying to go for some length and you're chasing out. And that's when you start writing in those scenes that make no sense. That's when you start like really like scratching and clawing to keep that running time going, rather than spending on it what really needs to serve the story and nothing else.
That's it.
And that's what I love about this piece, is that we only serve the story.
Right.
And then we also give everybody what they want. And I think that, you know, instead of trying to pepper this short film with 50 deaths, the deaths that we do have in this film, you're going to be talking about them for a long time. We had Nora Hewitt as our special effects artist on this one.
Nora's going to be making
Nora,
me up
who's working with us on, working on Dylan's. I worked with her on, I met her on 13 Fanboy, and it was funny. I worked with her on 13 Fanboy. She did the effects for that film. And every night we would sit down and we talked about Disappear, the music video, and we talked about Never Hike in the Snow. And I acted out the entire movie in front of her on a porch at like midnight. I mean, every single piece of Never Hike in the Snow, I went through the entire film, and she was just like, I got to work on this. Yeah. And so we've been working since last August on it. And you know, it was her actually fiance Rachel, who played a really big part in working on the film. She did a lot of the sculpting and molding that we needed for the film. We had help from Bill Hunt, all the way from New Zealand. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bill Hunt. He's a special effects artist that worked on Jason Goes to Hell, and Lord of the Rings, and he's amazing. He did a lot of our concept artwork. He made our new Pamela head. And I don't know if people have really been aware. I put this in the fine print, but the Blu-ray that you see on our Indiegogo, that's not the final artwork. That's probably going to be edition 2. Right. The artwork that we have for that Blu-ray, the first edition, the one that's going to be limited, we're only going to do one run of it, and then we do other runs of the other ones. Right. The artwork, Bill's working on it right now. It's a big spoiler. I cannot share it with anyone until after the film releases. I probably wait like a week before I'll film it after the release so people can watch it and really do it. Right. You're going to love this cover. It's ridiculous. And then and then we'll do other things. And I saw in the comments, I've been getting a few requests for us to put the Never Hike Alone Blu-ray back on this campaign that we have running now. I was hesitant at first, but I think I'm going to end up doing it. I think right now we're going to focus on our 13 days for the pre-orders and the credits. And then once we hit that because we've already hit our goal. Yeah. I only put it at $500. Yeah. Once we hit that, we'll go in demand. And then I will put up other things. And for the next several months, you guys can put in more pre-orders. You can get pre-orders for I'll put up the second and third editions, because now reprinting them really isn't that much. And we'll make that available. But I think right now I really want to focus on people getting their names in the credits, what we need to do for Never Hike in the Snow, get that locked off. And then we'll focus on finishing the film. Right. And then once that's put through post and we got it ready to go, I'll change my attention to the Indiegogo, and we'll have some fun. And then we'll release this thing on October 13th and hopefully get the Blu-ray shipped out by about December 1st. That was the only thing that really got delayed. The funny thing was we were always aiming to release that week. Right. And I didn't think we'd be able to hit that date. The original was going for the Telluride Horror Show, October 17th, returning to where it all started, the 3-year anniversary of Never Hike Alone, which is why we released it on October 13th. It's the 3-year anniversary of Never Hike Alone. We thought it was a great way to celebrate.
Is October 13th a Friday?
No, it's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, okay.
So we don't have to compete with anything that's releasing on the weekend. We're right in the middle of the week, right in the middle of Halloween season. Yep. People can watch it on the 13th, or they can watch it on Halloween, or they can watch it on the following Friday the 13th in November. That's right. We got 3 really big dates for people to really kind of get together, gather people, as long as you maintain social distance, and watch this thing, or have share parties or things like that. We really want to work with people during the Halloween season, and not, we had an option to step into the Friday the 13th date. But after thinking about it, I was like, that's after the Halloween season. Yeah. And I feel like we'll be in, winter holiday mode, and people will love it, but I don't think it will have as much viral purpose on the internet if it's not during Halloween season. Because now people, because Michael effed off to next year.
Right.
So once again, Never Hike Alone is stepping into a big hole left behind by the studios. But Candyman's coming out that week. So we do have very stiff competition, which is why we pulled it back earlier in the week.
Right.
So we could have a few lead up days and people could chew on that before they go see Candyman that weekend.
Right.
If Candyman even stays in that slot.
Yeah. Because it's been pushed a number of times now, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they swapped everything around, and then the whole idea is that, COVID's going to lighten up, so we'll be going back to the theaters. Well, only about half of America is open right now. There are no theaters opening in Los Angeles. There are people driving from Los Angeles to Vegas just to see Tenet. So I don't think that that's what people want, and I don't think they're taking Candyman to streaming. So if they move it again, that will only benefit other independent filmmakers. I implore any independent filmmaker, October is the time to release some stuff because there's a huge hole. All the big films vacated, and we should really take it over because this is what we do. We put stuff on the internet so people can watch it right away. So let's give people a chance to look at what we can do. And then hopefully one day we can be releasing films.
That's it.
In the theaters in October.
That's a great segue into my next thought, of course, and you can only divulge what you can, of course, but has there been buzz and rumblings from in what you're doing?
Well, I mean, nothing on the front with Friday the 13th because of the lawsuit. That's why we hashtagged end the lawsuit.
I saw that. That was a great hashtag. I saw that. I was like, that's brilliant.
That's ultimately what this is about. Yeah. I mean, we're not making fan films so we can go to conventions and charge people for autographs. We're making fan films because we want to show the studios that Friday the 13th is still viable and fans want it, and that we want to crack at it because we think we have the formula to how to bring Jason into the modern era in many different ways. Never Hike Alone is just one story of many that I have. I mean, I could reboot the entire series. I can go any direction. If a studio pulls me in, I can guide them on a feature film, a web series, an HBO Max show, whatever they want to do. I got ideas for it all. And that's ultimately what fans want. They don't want, and bless them, Sean, Victor, they're not in touch with what the fan wants. I don't even think they care what the fan wants. I think what they need to do is just relinquish control, sit back and cash their checks and watch the fans, the new generation. Watch the fans, watch the new generation take over and show them that we're inspired by what they did. And those films, because they left so many gaps in between them and there's so many different ways you can go, there's a lot of interesting stories to tell. And look at Chucky, that they're doing two different things there. Look at Batman. They have 3 different multiverses going on. So it's the day of the multiverse. Let's have 3 versions of Jason on 3 different platforms that fans can gravitate towards. I mean, we never rented just one Friday the 13th off the shelf. We grabbed 3 VHS tapes on that Friday. So let's be able to do that again.
Yeah. No, it's true. And this lawsuit, I mean, Miller and Cunningham have got to be what? They got to be in their 70s at least, right? And, no disrespect, but I mean, look, I get it. I understand it. You're artists and I created this, I deserve that, and sometimes it's about the artistic integrity and, the principle of it and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, unless you're going to do something with it, then, like you say, Vince, I mean, just let it go and reap the financial benefits of it because there's going to be substantial financial benefits. There's plenty.
There's got to be plenty.
There's got to be between merchandising and films and television and streaming. And, I mean, it's got to be huge. And especially at this stage of your life. If they were young, or if they were like in their 30s or even, I'm 41. I mean, I get it because they're still, you're still kind of in that hunt, that fight, But what are they doing? I mean, guys, like it just seems out of spite now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that, and I get it. There's a principle to it, and they're both sticking to their guns because Victor feels like he gave his input and that he. And I'll get into kind of my personal opinion in a second. And then there's Sean, and I see it from both sides. I see it from Sean, the man who put that ad in Variety, the man who raised the money, the man who produced and directed the film, who went through all the trouble, who was there on day 1 and was there on day 365. Victor wrote the script and then effed off.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And he did create those characters. And you know what, Sean, you didn't write the story.
Right.
And without Victor, you wouldn't have been able to do it. So you do owe him that credit. But the question is whether or not he was work for hire, whether or not Victor got paid flat for a script. No matter what it came out, he loses his rights, or whether or not he was someone who wrote this story and then submitted it and then it was purchased.
Right.
That's the thing. And the paperwork there to prove either way is not there. And so ultimately it's defaulting as if he had done it. I think people who know the story of Friday the 13th know the order of events, knowing that Sean came up with the idea first and hired Victor to write it. And now we're in this legal battle. And I do wish that more than anything, beyond the lawsuit, beyond all these things, it seems like at one point in time, these guys were great friends.
Yeah.
And they lost that, and they lost touch, or maybe they're able to maintain their friendship through this legal battle. I don't feel like that might be the case. I feel like there's probably some hard feelings there, but I would like to see these two reunited again.
I would too.
And I would like to see them come together and say, like, Matt, even if I did hire you work for hire, I couldn't have done this without you, buddy.
Yes, exactly.
And let's spend these years celebrating what we've made and enjoying it, rather than trying to, fight
Especially
over. Because what's going to end up happening? You know what I mean? Like, where does that go? How does that end? It just leaves you with a bad feeling in your stomach, and you don't. That's not the way to leave it.
No.
And I know the fans would love to see them come back together, and the fans want to see more material. And ultimately, right now, fans are creating their own material. You're seeing fan films pop up everywhere, and it's nice, but it's not our responsibility. You're supposed to entertain us, not the other way around.
Right. Do you think that, and again, I don't mean any disrespect to these guys when I say this, but, Sean Cunningham it's not that he hasn't done anything else other than Friday the 13th. He has. It's not that Victor Miller hasn't done anything else other than Friday the 13th. He has. But
he's an Emmy award-winning writer.
Exactly. 100%. But in the pop culture, as I like to say, the pop culture consciousness, or the ether of pop culture, they are probably most identified with Friday the 13th.
Yeah. For better and worse.
Exactly. Do you think that had that not been the case, had there been other things going on, other things that they themselves as artists, and I'm speaking from a personal sort of standpoint here, in terms of, what you as a filmmaker, as an artist, and you can relate to this too. And so, imagine this, that, at that stage in your life, had there been more that you were identified with, or more that you had done that had affected people in the same ways as this little, Friday the 13th from 1980. I mean, do you think that this back and forth, this fight between sort of, no, that's mine, no, this is mine, no, this is mine, would be there? Or do you think it would be like, I've got so much other things that I'm known for, I've got so many other things that I'm proud of and that I've done, that, what, like, Sean, let's just split it, man. Let's just split it. Because it doesn't become so important. It doesn't become so important to their legacy, because their legacy is not just Friday the 13th. Do you think that could be the case there?
Well, I think part of it is neither of them intended on Friday the 13th being any more than one film.
Oh, that's true.
And it kind of caught wind. And obviously I think Victor's side is that he saw his role in it, and he saw Sean really benefit from it, and his family secure for multiple generations, I imagine. Yeah. And Victor, who went on to have a very successful writing career and do his own thing, and make his own staple within the industry. I think he wants that security for his family, and he feels like he put in the effort, and without him, and with this rule that he's able to use, he wants to use that to do better for his family. I can't blame him for that.
No.
That the motivation behind it, I think, getting credit and all that stuff. Realistically, I don't think that they wanted to be remembered for Friday the 13th. I think it actually hurts them personally,
right?
That's all they're remembered by, because I know I've met Sean, and after getting to know him a little bit, just kind of hanging around him for a little bit, I could tell that, like, he really wanted to make other types of films. Like, if he could have made any other type of film, like he would make like musicals and like really like touching dramas, and he would want to go after like Oscars.
Right.
And I think Friday the 13th stopped him from doing that in a lot of ways, because anytime he ventured outside the horror world, it was like, oh, he's the Friday the 13th guy. And that's how he got treated. And so, like, a thing that was just supposed to be this money maker to get him to the next project ended up being this anchor that he dragged through his entire life, that stopped him from being able to do some of the things that he wanted to do, as much as it was, funding his life, his family, and giving him the opportunities to create his own projects. And, he was successful with the House series. He did Deep Star 6. And there were things he got involved with later on in his life, and there's stuff that he's producing and directing right now on a smaller scale. But I think he had a different vision for where his life was going to go, and it wasn't necessarily tied to Friday the 13th.
Right.
And I don't think horror is really his genre. It's not his taste.
Yeah.
He just recognized that as a businessman, he could make money off of it.
Right.
You know, he took $750,000 and turned it into 30 million.
That's right.
Or more, even more, back in 1980. So it's a brilliant move. But it was like, you know, and sometimes I feel about that. Like I'm sitting there going, man, I might be the guy who's just only known for making fan films.
Yeah. No.
You know, I got to put so much effort to do this
Right.
that like everyone, you know, and I still get the questions like, when are you going to do something original and,
Right.
and all this stuff? And it's like, I want to, but the last original piece we put on Womp Stomp Films Indiegogo, you guys only gave us $7,000.
That's it.
You know, you know, I got another film coming out next year that I'm gonna have to crowdfund for called Ghost Chicken. It's going to be animated. It's going to cost a lot of money. And I hope
not only so I'm so sorry, dude. I just love the picture of this doorway open and this little chicken standing there like he's fucking ready to take on the world, man.
Yeah, so you know, we got this cool little short film that we want to do, and it's original, and I want to do original stuff. I just got signed. Well, I not just got signed, but I've been working on an original project for over a year. I've been attached to direct a film called The Kindness of Strangers about two serial killers that discover each other on the open road and then battle it out until only one left standing. It's a really cool film. I got attached to it with a writer named Ian Bush. It was his original idea. They brought me on. We did some rewrites. My manager Gavin is producing it, and we're in the financing stage right now. Obviously, COVID set us back from able to go into early pre-production, but it's a script I'm really excited about. It's very topical. It's, you know, I think the idea has been done a couple different ways and different things. It's like a season of Dexter all in one movie.
Right.
But overall, it really says a lot. You know, the two characters are really cool. We have like your typical serial killer who's like a plus 40 white dude who is just like, looks like, you know, grills the best burger in town. You'd never realize, you know, he's John Lithgow from, exactly. He's John Lithgow from that season of Dexter. And then he finds this girl who's barely maybe 20, and she seems like she's just this lost dog on the world, just on this journey. And it turns out that she's the biggest psycho he's ever met.
I love it.
And they just try to ruin each other's lives. And it's funny. It's horrifying. It's got all these great things. I think it really brings out kind of my best qualities because I love comedy. I love telling jokes. I like horror comedies, but I like when horror comedies are able to scare you at the same time, like a Leslie Vernon. So I think people are really going to dig this once we get deeper into production on this. Hopefully we can shoot it next year. We've been looking at states that we're going to go out and film it in. And that's what I'm really excited about. I mean, I love Never Hike Alone. I'm going to keep working on this in the background. If I'm making professional films, this is going to be my side hustle.
Right.
But I mean, ultimately, that's what I want to do. I want to be a director. I want to release things in the theaters or on, you know, Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max or Call Me.
That's right.
Anything.
That's right.
Direct TV, whatever it is. That's what I want to do. And I'm doing this because I love Friday the 13th, but I also love directing. Right. And so it's like you said before, it's like I'm taking Friday the 13th and I'm making Friday the 13th, but ultimately I'm showing people how I like to direct things. And I'm not I'm nodding towards Friday the 13th, but I'm keeping up with the quality of like, this is how I would shoot it in today's market.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do with my original films as well.
Yeah, it's so important to do that. And I mean, I've been the same thing. I think probably anybody who has a bit of a following, who is raising money for fan films, at least begins to raise money, gets the question, why are you doing this? Why are you not raising money for something original? And I have quite a few original feature length. Well, I have one original feature length and about 3 or 4 original shorts. Written out. The feature length needs a bit of polishing, but I mean, if I was to start an Indiegogo for that, I mean, I'd raise, I don't know what, $5. I mean, because I don't know what this is. So what's great about fan films and you know is you're able to, if you can raise the money and you're able to access, you know, the equipment and the resources to put something high caliber on the small screen in terms of you know, YouTube and things like that, you can really showcase to the world what you're capable of, and you know, it's a great portfolio piece to be able to showcase and say, now imagine this, but with this or with this, or you know, it's. And people pay attention to it. You know, like I said to Bruce the other day, I said, my producing partner and best friend of nearly 30 years, co-director as well, and it's me, Billy, for those of you that may not know. Yeah, we've known each other since 7th grade. So it's we made little amateur films on high 8 camcorders in the 90s, and now, and you know, like we said, you know, we got to really do this. Like we sat on this far too long, which is why we're doing it. But I said, you know, you do something the best you can. You never know what the response is going to be, but you do it to the point where they can't ignore you. You know, and you where people go, geez, that's so fucking good. That's annoying. Fuck. God damn it. We got to call these guys now. You know, like, I mean, that's what it really is, right? You know, and I mean, I've had a lot of people say, what if, you know, Blumhouse sees your thing and they want to, and I'm like, we'll talk. I mean, if they want, I mean, you know, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes. Let's shoot the movie first. But it's that sort of thing where it's these fan films are actually more important. You know, it gives fans, like you were saying, it gives fans material to their most beloved properties while there's nothing going on, especially in Friday the 13th, when there's a lawsuit. You come along, you're giving high caliber production value, high caliber material to fans, to Friday fans that have been in desperate need of this for the better part of at least 11 years. And, you know, it's something that they can bite, and it helps you as a filmmaker as well, you know, and helps propel you into, you know, the eyes and ears of influential people. And that's important. It's a win-win for everybody. You donate and you get perks and t-shirts and you're helping to bring this to life. If it wasn't for the fans, all you guys out there now, what you see in the trailer to Never Hike in the Snow would not have been possible. Vince can't just go out.
I couldn't do that with just my iPhone.
No, exactly. You can't just, you know, nobody's just got a Dana Dolly and a jib in their trunk. I mean, that just.
I mean, some people do, but it's still you got to get everybody else out there. It's not.
That's
it's
true.
not just like
some people do. That's right. I don't, but yes. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like some of us have the Dana Dollies that you can buy on Amazon that wiggle when you push them, you know, stuff like that. Like we're talking about like real stands, like real rails, like a real slider, like the whole 9 yards, having that stuff. And some people have the grip equipment and stuff like that, and they can shoot their own projects. But it takes a village. It does. You know, it's not just one department. If you got a good camera, well, if you don't have good lighting and you don't have good costumes and you don't have good effects, well, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a really good, slick looking piece of crap. You know, it's like,
hey, it looks great.
And ultimately, like that was the pitfall I didn't want to fall in. And ultimately, like it's funny, like fan films are a little bit like a training wheel. It's like we're not asking fans to get on board of this big idea of a bigger world that they've never been introduced for before. We're just playing with the toys in our brain and showing people what we've always wanted to see in Friday the 13th. So follow storylines that you would have never thought that the studios would ever follow.
That's it.
You know what I mean? It's the things that studios aren't doing that fans are willing to go up and pay for. And then when we present that to the fan, they say, do you want this idea? Do you want him in the snow? Great. You can have it right now, instead of like writing letters on Bloody Disgusting's like comment section, hoping that some New Line or Warner Brothers executive sees, they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we should put one in the winter. You know, it's like,
exactly.
And then that's going to go through 15 different chains of command of being like, can we do winter? Can we do winter? Can we do winter?
Exactly.
And it's like, I don't know if you guys have seen Shin Godzilla, but like, it's like Shin Godzilla with like all the bureaucracy going all the way to the top. And
that's right.
The head of Warner Brothers goes, Friday the 13th in the winter, it's going to be too expensive.
That doesn't make any sense. Who the fuck camps in the
winter?
That's all
it takes. He doesn't care. He just wants Friday. He doesn't care what Friday the 13th looks like, as long as it makes money. And anyone can come along and say this will make money and not really even talk to the fans. And I think that's how we ended up with some of the films we ended up with, because no one was talking to what the fans wanted, what they wanted to see. So this gives fans a direct, you know, it connects you. And as much as like I would love to be doing the original stuff too, I really love this because I've always wanted to work on Friday the 13th. I applied at Platinum Dunes and they never even got back to me. So I would, you know, and it just seemed like I was never going to have a chance to work on a Friday. I just wanted to be a PA on the Friday the 13th, never mind direct one. So now I've created my own opportunity and I got to do what I've always wanted to do, live my dream, direct a Jason movie. It might not be canon, it might not be official, but you know what? It's mine and it made its impact. and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And now we get an opportunity to tell the story I've always wanted to tell. And there's nobody standing in my way because thankfully, as much as we talk shit about Sean and Victor, they haven't turned around and sued any of us,
Right.
which is, it's again, it's like, they're arguing, but they do understand that the fan base is out there and the fan base is taking care of itself, and they're not stepping in, and they're selling, and to a degree they benefit from it because we just create more awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to take too much credit, but I've had little kids come up to me and say, Never Hike Alone was my first trip into Friday the 13th. And now I want to watch the series. And I say, check with your parents first.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Never Hike Alone is the most PG you'll get.
Yep.
But it's nice. It's nice to see the younger generation who's on YouTube who don't necessarily kind of pay attention to that stuff. These films are theirs.
Yeah.
This is a whole generation of fans that are going to grow up on fan films of all different times. By the time they go back and watch the original series, they're going to be like, "What's this crap?"
Yeah. No, it's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wonder. It's funny because fan films, and thanks to you, of course, and in large part,
there's a slew before us, but I think
there are. But in the horror genre, I think.
We were the lightning rod.
Right.
We're the part 6 of the fan films.
Right.
Like we went through parts 1 through 5, and now we're part 6, and it's reinvigorated.
Right. Exactly. And there was the Star Trek one that was shut down. What is it, 6 or 7 years ago or whatever it was, and a couple of Star Wars ones that
changed the rules.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, fan films. It's almost like studios are. Yes, a studio could at any point in time shut something down, but I think like I often say here on my channel, and we talked about this too, is that I think at least I would like to think, maybe I'd like to think, but it's a vibe I get talking to you, talking to other people, that they're okay with it, as long as it doesn't succeed a certain threshold. Short films are always better. Because obviously that's not going to get anybody confused if it's short in terms of the real thing.
Putting fan film in the title.
That's right.
Not misrepresenting. It's all about not misrepresenting yourself.
Right.
Like saying that that you're anything more than a fan film,
right,
which is a big no-no.
Exactly.
And I think that as long it's that we're separating ourselves, and people know that, I think the one thing that we were able to do really creatively was create that loop of having an offshoot of saying, listen, if we make too much money somehow, if somehow every Friday the 13th fan sees this in the world, well, there's a lot of money that's going to get donated to charity.
Right.
And we're not going to keep it. That's the whole point. Or if you want to cut, just come and talk to us and we'll give you $5,000 from whatever, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's just
Vince,
like
your phone's going to be buzzing now.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Vince said he could give us $5,000.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like if they wanted to come in, I mean, I don't know why studios don't even support these things, because I think that with some studio involvement and a little bit of kind of like saying like, listen, we're treating this like its own little mini series, right, and like we're supporting fans, and you can work your way up to this. You're going to see people like bringing a lot to the table.
I think it might scare them a bit. No, I mean,
yeah,
not everybody.
The second that they make,
I mean, that's a generalization.
Depending on the rights holder,
right?
Depending on the rights holder,
right? True.
And that's really what it comes down to. True. It's like who owns the rights to the individual franchise, and then or movie or whatever it is, and how they feel about it. Right. Because Star Trek, they had a problem, and they changed the rules because of it. Halloween used to be really bad. They lightened up.
They did lighten
Godzilla, you can't get anything made.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's a matter of who you're dealing with, and it's a matter of how you treat the material and how you represent yourself. And as long as you go with kind of like, I think the rules that we live by based on the Star Trek stuff that came out of it, you're doing okay.
Right.
And if there's anything that ever comes out, well, all these fan films are an email away. Yeah. Just talk to us. You know what I mean? Like we're here. Like you've talked to us. We're happy to have that conversation, because we'll just say like, why don't you just buy us?
That's it. I mean, I think if like, you made a good point there too, where it's as long as you are handling, if you are entering the territory of, professionally produced film, which you are, I am, Cecil is, where in terms of the production value is it's not going to look quote unquote fan-like, then I think once you enter that territory, it's so important. And you are, I mean, this is not, I'm not saying anything to you don't know, but just, to people out there, I think it really comes down to, like you said, the material is being held with care, with love, It's not being made fun of. It's not being, frowned upon in terms of exploited in any sort of way. And I think as long as that's what's happening. Oh, you must be reading.
No. You
comment?
just reminded me of something that
Okay.
happened this
I
morning.
thought you were reading because I keep glancing to the comments and I keep seeing people.
Oh, the comments have been golden.
Never hike with a chicken. Major chicken. Cluck away camp.
Well, yeah, cross. That'll be
you guys are amazing. 00 chicken. You have your whole series laid out for you now.
Right?
But it comes down to that. I think it comes down to really handling it with care, and the love and the attention to detail and the passion that you have put into it and that you continue to put into it is evident in the quality of the work. The quality, it's an overused cliche, but the quality speaks for itself. The evidence is there. I can see it. This is clearly made by individuals and a team of people that
yes.
not just love Friday the 13th, but really love they love loving it. If that makes any sense.
I think that, yeah. What I was going to say was that I think with my crew is that they recognize this is a really great chance to put their skills on display. A lot of people are going to watch this now. And so with Never Hike Alone, there was a little bit of hesitation, but I had a smaller crew. We had an easier production that we could get done with less people. This one required a full crew every single time we went out, except for maybe one side shoot that we did after we wrapped.
Right.
But everything that's why this movie was so expensive, was because it was a full cast. It was multiple locations, full crew, all the equipment. Yeah. We were never shooting in town in LA. We were always shooting out in the mountains, or we shot in Arizona.
Right.
So there was a lot there. And the thing that made me laugh before was talking about not misrepresenting. I got an email this morning from some foreign distributor who was like, do you want to release Never Hike in the Snow?
I'm sorry. Wait,
those
Vince,
are the types of.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hold this in. Richard Marlowe, Texas Chainsaw Chicken featuring Featherface.
I love it.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, but every now and then I get a weird distribution request from some foreign market, and I just have to write them back and be like, this is going to be for free on YouTube. You can't distribute it. I can't make money off of it. And so it's just really, it's about that.
Yeah.
That's what the ultimately, they don't want you selling it to the theaters and making a direct profit off of
it. That's it.
We skirt around the laws with the Blu-ray stuff, because the Blu-rays is its own production and costs money to create.
Right.
And ultimately you're not basically, you don't get a warehouse of them and they're not on an endless supply on Amazon. It's literally made to order.
That's
so
right.
if 1,400 people order it, then 1,400 people get it. You get a few extras, so just in case things break or go missing, and then you sell off those extras, and that's it. And with those extras, you donate a little bit to charity, or like what we did, we took a little bit of that and made our music video with it. Things like that. We just find creative ways to just make the money work for the fans. If you're not going to give it to donations, give it to the fans somehow by, you know what, we got money for a new shirt. Let's do a new shirt. They can buy that. Let's make money for a new edition of the Blu-ray, or we made money for, another piece that we can make.
That's it.
I think that it's nice to donate to charity, but if you're taking large sums of your budget and donating it to charity, then why did the fans give you the money if you had the money to shoot it in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah.
They could have just donated to those things on their own.
Right.
They didn't need your project to do that.
Right.
It just seems a little self-indulgent. So it's just a matter of, I think, fans recognizing when there are groups of people doing it with the right intentions, and then, keeping out for those eventually, eventually some people are going to come along and try to take advantage of this. And I think fans are pretty good at sniffing those people out.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes to Friday the 13th, and let's say the rights get resolved. Chicken. God, they're going nuts in here. They're
Night of the Living Chickens.
Night of the Living Chickens. Holy
That's
cow.
my next one. We'll do zombie chickens taking over a farmhouse.
Yes.
I'm coining that idea.
Dude,
I'm coining that idea.
Dude, as long as I get to be the guy or one of the people in the farmhouse. I
would definitely do it animated like we're doing this one. So you can be one.
Animated, sure, okay. Maybe I can voice a few of the chickens.
Like a big. It's like the bird flu that goes crazy and it turns all the birds in the world into zombies. So this big chicken farm just turns into and they're all pecking people to death and stuff. It'd be awesome.
Done. Sold. What was I gonna say?
You know what you did last chicken dinner?
Oh my
great.
God!
I got a whole series here.
Now, would it be stop animation or would it be computer animation?
It's going to be 2D.
No. I mean, if you were to do a zombie one.
I think I would keep it in the 2D
2D
world. I mean, I
world?
think as far as our world goes, is what the money we can raise. 2D is probably the most affordable.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
I was
That's true.
told my other film is going to cost like $50,000, and it's only like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Animation's expensive.
yeah, it is. But luckily, we got some people who are working on it, who are going to work with us. So we're really excited about that. But we're a ways away. We're working on the storyboards right now. We want to present an idea to people that they can get behind. Maybe create some key art or maybe a test sequence so they see what the animation is going to look like before we say, hey, we need money to make the rest of it.
Right.
So hopefully, I don't know if so for example, if this campaign I'm doing right now does really, really, really well, well, I might take a little chunk of that.
Right.
And I might go, here, make me a test piece.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like we can put it into other projects for Womp Stomp Films so we can keep creating content. And that's the point.
That's it.
I like helping out these places, but I'd rather donate my time and fix things than just keep handing checks over.
Right.
Like I'm either making something for the fans or I'm figuring out how to do it myself. That's my top two priorities.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's kind of like, you know what? Here, here's a grant for this, and here's $500 to that, and kind of doing a little bit there. We started donating to Special Olympics, so we do like a monthly donation to Special Olympics every month, which is nice. It's nice just to keep us. I say this is our honesty fund.
It's nice to keep
that way
you
as the money keeps, as the money keeps rolling in. It's like at least we're donating to something every month, and then like when we know all of our bills are covered, we can go, all right, let's take a little chunk and put it in JD's fund, or let's send a check off to it's like we haven't made these giant donations. It's just we've given a little bit over time, and then mostly we've donated our time, like going to fix up the camp for other hikers that go up there.
Yeah.
Project College Camp, as I call it. It just got flooded up there, so we got to send a whole crew to go back up and kind of clean it up because we got more filming to do up there. Yeah. We got to get it prepared so we can get up and down that hill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then eventually what you need to do is in the future Never Hike Alone installments, in the background, it's like, where's Waldo? In the background, you have to have a chicken that just sort of walks by in the background behind Jason, as he's there. And it's a serious scene, but you hear like, and he kind of walks by in the background.
They're friends.
Right.
Ghost friends.
Right. And then you see Jason sort of looking at Pamela Voorhees' head, and he turns and he looks over to the right, and there's the chicken sort of just kind of, looking up at him. It's like a duo, I remember what I was going to say before is, so let's say the rights are resolved.
Oh, yeah.
You are approached. Is this story that you're currently telling something that you would want to create officially, or would you say, you know what, let's just continue, let me finish this, give me the money, let me finish this? Or would you still crowdfund it, or would you want to do that? Or I guess I'm sure you've thought all about this. So
good.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Here's my pitch to studios is basically this: Never Hike Alone. This is meant for HBO Max. This is meant to be a TV series.
Right.
Let's make a TV series out of it. And then let's also expand upon that. Each season we could tell a different Friday story, kind of like American Horror Story. You don't have to continue it every season. Make one-offs, mini-series, things, focus on a specific idea and then execute that for that season and then move on, because continuity only goes so far on Friday the 13th. You can work yourself into your own continuity and play that out, but super long-term, it gets a little chaotic.
Right.
That's what I want to do with this. I have an idea that I would love to pitch as the 13th film in the series and how I would reboot Friday the 13th for the new era, a new 3-arc film. Like what fans don't want one more film. They want a new franchise. Yes. And so I would like to give them a formula and a story that they could firmly plant on the ground and build off of rather than figuring it out as they go. Yeah. I've got an idea for 3 films right in a row with 3 very specific themes, with 3 very specific and different experiences for fans that changes some things, but hangs on to what's core value of Friday the 13th. And I think it's kind of the Friday the 13th that if they had known what they were about to do, they would have made back in 1980. Right. And that's what I want to present to fans. Something that's going to feel familiar, but brand new. And you're going to love kind of like, whereas Friday the 13th doesn't really pay attention to the things fans pay attention now. Like imagine if a film had that care and knowing that like, listen, we're setting you up for a ride and here's ride number 1. Exactly. Just like they do with Marvel. It's like, they set up that first Avengers film to work towards Endgame.
Yes.
Well, let me set you up a Friday the 13th that can work towards a Friday the 13th Endgame.
Right.
And you can have this conclusion to your series, or you can have a new jumping off point that you can make lucrative without trying to rely on a formula that died in 1990.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's basically
So basically
the message.
what you're
It's just like,
saying
help us make,
is that you have a plan.
I have a plan.
You'll never get
Yeah.
hired at Lucasfilm. I'm just going to say that. Let me see here. But I'm ching. Yeah, let's take some questions. I know some questions came in, and
Yeah, a lot of questions flew by. If you want to
yes,
repost them,
I'm going
or
to
we can
actually. I'm
scroll
going to go
through, maybe.
back to the super chat ones that came in.
Keep taking my money, Vince.
Elijah Harris just sends in a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Elijah. Todd Fair sends in a $5 super chat and says, "Will Jason speak and never hike in the snow?"
No, Jason will never ever speak. Jason,
Dodge that bullet.
yeah.
Mosh Pit sends in a $5 super chat and says, "Question for Vince. We have seen Jason go through changes over time. Will Ghost Jason go through the same changes at all appearance-wise?"
His appearance will change by events that take directly place in the series. So as he takes on damage as the series goes on, because he will. I mean, he's going to fight Tommy eventually. You know, there's going to be a back and forth.
Right.
And so he will take damage. And that what the goal is to slowly tear that costume away and show you what's underneath and show you what's got him kicking and really bring that level up to it, to do like a really big, another face reveal later on in the films, and kind of do that. We want to do kind of what Jason did. Another thing, what do fans want? A continuity of costume. One thing fans love about Part 7 more than anything that people love about the film is the costume, because John Carl Buechler said, "I'm going to put every piece of damage Jason ever had into this makeup, into this mask, into this costume,
Right.
everything." And people love it. So we want to take Jason's new costume, which is derivative of him basically getting his costume ripped off him by the toxic sludge in Part 8. This is the new costume he's covered himself with, because when he walks by a mirror, he doesn't want to see his mangled body.
Right.
Like we have some things about Jason that, like, he's not just like a mindless, revenant who's unconscious of what he is. I mean, he's literally the boy he was when he died. He's just in this massive kind of mecha suit that the curse is built for him, and he doesn't know how to process it. And so he wears clothes and does things that make him feel human, even though he no longer is. And we want to strip that away from him during the course of his evolution of, like, we're going to see Jason in a certain mindset and place at the beginning of the films where you're going to almost feel sorry for him, maybe in a way.
Right.
And then as he's kind of reawoken and pissed off, you're going to see the full rage of Jason kind of come out. And that's what the series is about Jason realizing what he is and what he's supposed to do, and that he can't hide anymore. And that if they're going to come to him, he's going to them. And he's got 30 years of being real pissed off to really take care of everybody. So that's the fun thing to build towards. And you see hints of it and glimpses of it when he has to take action in these films.
Right.
But you're going to see another side too, which is really cool. So I think that's kind of like where we're aiming for him.
Cool. Very cool. Intel Wild sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Intel. Says, "Jason in the snow is an original idea. Meanwhile, the film studios got nothing. Keep up the great work, Vinny."
Thanks. I mean, I don't know how much of an original idea is, because we've been talking about it for years, and there have been other fan films that have touched upon it. I believe a filmmaker by the name of Will Devo Keys did a trailer that was set in the snow, and there was another one called Jason Xmas from a while back.
Okay.
But at the time when they made those, they didn't have the budget and the cameras that we do.
Right.
So fans have been doing this. They've been attempting it. I'm sure there's a few more fan films or something else out there.
Yeah.
I know that the 2009 sequel was supposed to be set in the winter. Right. They released some pages about Jason running across like a frozen lake and stuff like that. It's an idea that's been brought to the table multiple times and either just executed on a typical fan film level, or it just never been executed by the studio. So we finally just wanted to make it happen. And in fact, Tom McLaughlin, it was funny, like Tom McLaughlin announced that he wanted to do a winter set prequel with a brand new set of characters. When we came out with Never Hike in the Snow.
Before you approached him?
Well, no, I've been talking to Tom for a
Okay.
while at this
Okay.
point, and he had been working on his script, and he announced it. And then when people found out we were doing Never Hike in the Snow, they were like, "Wait, did you steal that idea from Tom?" I'm like, "Not even close."
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, fans have been asking this forever, and two, like
Yeah.
I've been pitching. Like before I decided to make Never Hike in the Snow, I pitched to at least 2 or 3 other fan filmmakers. I was like, if you're going to do a Friday the 13th film, do yourself a favor,
Right.
just go set it in the snow, make it 20 minutes long. You'll give fans exactly what they want. And after a while, I just got sick of giving good advice and just took it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the best thing to do, you know, at the end of the day. I mean, because you made it happen, right? So let me see here. Elijah Harris sends in a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Elijah. Says, is Kyle and Tommy going to return in Never Hike Alone? I think means Never Hike in the Snow. And I think the answer is
Never Hike in the Snow.
well, yeah.
Tommy is definitely in it.
Yeah. He's on the
Andrew
poster.
quite hasn't worked his way into the world yet. So Andrew's just kind of a cheerleader on this one. But they will both return and Never Hike Again. And you'll actually see things from the Never Hike Alone timeline prior to Andrew running into Jason. In Never Hike Again, you'll see alternate kind of places of where he is, because we are going to touch upon both those characters. But instead of like Never Hike Alone is all from from Kyle's perspective, Never Hike Again is all from Tommy's perspective.
Right.
So we get to see the story from his side of things, and eventually he'll meet. That's when we kind of come back into Andrew, and I think that's going to be a fun time. I mean, when you finally get Tommy's side of the story, and then we do reintroduce Kyle into the story, I think fans are going to get really excited. And then I think when we get to the 3rd episode and you really start seeing Kyle and Tommy work together after they've kind of recovered from their night with Jason at the end of Never Hike Alone, and they go back to Crystal Lake and they're at the hospital where a lot of the second film or the 3rd episode takes place. You see a lot of, it's going to be really, I think, fulfilling for fans to get answers to a lot of questions about what's going on, about what is about to happen, about what Tommy has been thinking all these years about how he thinks he can destroy Jason and why he thinks Kyle is the key.
Right.
And ultimately it becomes like a Star Wars story where Tommy is our Obi-Wan and, you know, Kyle is our Luke Skywalker, or, you know, or Tommy's our Luke Skywalker and Andrew's our Rey. He's got the hair for it.
That's right. That's right. Empress Rey.
Yeah.
Okay, Todd Fair, Todd likes to be silly, says, hey, Vince, did Jason make love with any snow animals? He did. Chickens, right? I think it's chickens, I think.
Yeah, just the chickens.
Yeah, just the chickens.
It's the snow chickens.
Just the snow chickens. Cordell.
I want to point out one thing. I want to appreciate the hunters who piped up in the middle of the chat saying, "Oh no, you can hunt blah blah, blah coyote and all that stuff." Funny. I wish you would have been around when I was writing the other one, so I actually knew. But I think we made the right choice, because there's another fan film working on hunters, and I didn't want to step on their toes either. So I made the change so I could be in my own world.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cordell sends in a $4.99 super chat. Jason coming with Storm reminds me of Dave's. Oh, when Vince said that. I see what he's saying here. He said, okay, so he says, Jason coming with Storm reminds me of my 2018 sequel concept idea with Michael and the Thunderstorm. I love the symbolism like that. Yeah, I always talk about Michael Myers. He should be played like he's that storm on the horizon that's sort of coming, you know what I mean? And then when he arrives, you know, the storm's arrived and whatnot. So
definitely. I mean, it's definitely an old school film trick. I mean, always the storm that's coming when everything. I mean, every Friday the 13th takes place during a storm. At least the first 2 do, and then 3 I think skips that because everything's so well lit. They didn't want to wet down the 3D cameras. But part 4, the entire thing's in the rain.
Yeah.
Part 5's the whole ending is in the rain.
Yeah.
The opening of part 6 is in the rain. Right. Like, rain is a big thing in Friday the 13th. And I wish that was one element that I could bring in, but rain machines are really expensive. So so that was definitely one of the things I'm working on with Jason, is him being not just a person living in the forest, but an entity of the forest and of nature and of that in his world within the bounds of Crystal Lake. He is the forest. Right. I mean, one of the things for me, I mean, I always get a lot of complaints about people saying like, how is Jason so close to Kyle in that scene where he just disappears in the next shot? You know, in my head, I don't even know if that was really Jason. Right. I think that was a manifestation of like a warning. It was like his spirit stomped on the ground next to him, not necessarily him physically. Like, that's the way I kind of play Jason. That's why this ghost Jason thing about like, I don't think he necessarily teleports, but I think he is swift. And when he needs to be, he can be quick.
Right.
And he can do these things, and he has that a little bit of that extra supernatural power, which we're going to see a little bit more in Never Hike in the Snow. We see a little bit more of the essence that like surrounds him in this world, which I think is really going to be, it's a really great moment in the film. We kind of see like a little bit more of like what Jason's about and what drives him. And that's part of the story for me, is really not just creating a blood splatter flick, but like telling about every single character, even Jason, but not wasting time trying to explain backstory or trying to just seeing it in the now and seeing it in the moment, and giving fans something that's worth watching, rather than trying to be like, well, let's just stop the movie and flash back and go back to Jason's childhood and like look into this part. It's like, that's not important right now. Like, that's not what fans want to see. They don't want over explanation. They just want to see a little bit more of what's there. And I think that we're going to bring something. One of the surprises that we bring in this film is one of those things. And it's definitely like, there's a few scenes that are my favorite. That's one of them.
Awesome. You get me excited. Let's see here.
Hype.
That's right, Mr. Hype. Todd Fair sends in a $5 super chat and says, Vince, do you think Jason will talk in the movie? Like maybe he says, I need a dentist for my teeth or something. No,
we'll have him Mark will kick him in the balls and he'll go, ow, my balls.
That's it. That's it.
Fall over.
I gotta get yeah, that's right. He speaks like a chicken.
That would be hilarious.
You could totally do a funny thing with that. Just do another mix with it. Brandon Barry sends in a $2.99 super chat. Says, could we ever see Jason back in space? I hope not.
Actually, like one of the things I would love to do, say for HBO Max, is do one season set in the world after, either before or after Jason X.
Okay.
Jason on New Earth. So you're just spending one season there. That's your AHS Earth 2. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And you kind of just play into the ridiculousness of it.
Right.
Like, just play off of it. Bring back Uber Jason in some way. How do the nanobots rebuild him this time?
Right.
Like, if there's only one little piece of the mask left and then he rebuilds. There are ideas there that, if given to the right person and done with the right tone and setting, that could be the comedy entry of the series. You know what I mean? Like, that could be something that there's juice, even though some of the worst ideas in the series, there's juice there.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Goes to Hell, it's a very diversive film. It's one of the most talked about films in the series because it's so diversive. But you would all show up on day one to see Jason in hell. Right. And imagine if that was a series. And all the places you could go there, and you bring back Adam Marcus and you let him tell the story that he originally wanted to tell.
And he's the kind. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, it's just, these are the opportunities that are out there that the studios just don't know they're there because they don't care.
Right.
But if we said, listen, we want to see this, everybody else will show up too.
That's just it. And it's almost like creating its own small screen world. And like you said, if what I'm gathering from you is and I never thought about it really, but I think you are correct in the sense that because of the kind of character Jason is, and because he was taken to such absurd lengths, even in the original series, like, I mean, I guess he's never really been grounded in any sort of reality, probably, I mean, certainly since the beginning, but certainly probably since, the middle chapters, certainly when Kane Hodder came on board, that I think maybe he is, unlike Michael really, but Jason is a character that you can take to those lengths and play in different sandboxes in. And maybe it is time. Maybe that is the direction, rather than I mean, I'm always down for a serious sort of look. But in your world, like you're saying, well, you get that too, and maybe it is time to sort of bring some of these properties away from the big screen. Not that anybody would turn down doing a theatrical release, Friday the 13th movie, of course, but maybe you create this universe where there are these different sort of kind of ideas, different sort of versions of Jason. And maybe because it's been so long and we're in a different era now in terms of horror and filmmaking, and maybe that's where you go, and people can have fun in many different worlds. of Jason and see what sticks and what doesn't. And rather than trying to figure out, because, you know, I've often said that when the rights thing gets resolved and whoever gets the rights and they do Friday the 13th again, I sit back and I think, now I wasn't a huge fan of the 2009 film. It's largely forgettable for me, but I look at the production value and I look at the intensity and I look at sort of what I'm thinking, are they just going to do that again? Like, I mean, like, it doesn't seem like it's old enough to do again. It just seems like we just had this. Are they going to continue it? Are they going to, like, what do we do with this that we haven't already done before? You know?
Well, I think the big issue previous to this with these crazy ideas is we didn't wait 10 years from Jason Goes to Hell to Jason X to see Jason in space in a bad sci-fi films rendition of Friday the 13th,
Right.
because ultimately that film didn't get the budget it needed to look really good. The story is basically Alien. I bet, I mean, I'm sure Todd Farmer would be like, yeah, I just made Alien with Jason.
Yeah.
But, they did what they could with that. I mean, I think it's another Vancouver production.
Yes.
But the thing is like, if you're not, if fans, like, if all of a sudden all this year that the rights all of a sudden got resolved and they said, all right, we're making the 13th film, Jason X2, fans would lose their minds.
Yeah.
But if they knew that there was a film coming out that year, they've just done 2 seasons. One of them, Never Hike Alone. The next one is Friday the 13th, Jason Escapes New York. We set a film back in 1989. Jason wakes up in the sewer and we see him get out of New York. And then in the 3rd season, we do Jason X2. Fans are going to be more on that ride because they have plenty to chew on.
Yeah.
It's like we hated Jason X back in 2002. Well, I didn't hate it because it was my first movie I saw in the theater and I thought it was hilarious. But fans hated it back then because they waited so long for it. But now when they watch it, they're like, you know what? It's not that bad when I put it in the context of everything. And I feel like I'm in a Jason X mood. I think what we're creating is the content of the mood.
Right.
What do I feel like watching? As long as I have a little bit of a la carte, I can have a little bit of that and a little bit of this.
Right.
Fans will eat it up. But if you make them wait and then give them something they don't like, that's when you get into issues. And when you have these offshoots, the TV series and the films and web series or whatever else you do, that's how you satisfy everybody because you give them so much to binge and consume. They can say, well, I like the TV series more than I like the film, but okay, then they're investing in toys from the TV series and shirts from the TV series. If they like the film, they're getting the toy they're probably getting them all.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the case of it. They're collecting them all. They're putting them on their shelves. They're getting them signed at cons. You're bringing in new Jasons. You're having different people play Jasons. You can have representation. Like, you can bring representation into Friday the 13th like it's never been before. You know what I mean? The opportunities are there now to include everybody. So let's do it, because this is a great series that has a built-in fan base that allows us to test this multiverse idea on. And then as new original ideas come along, they can base it off of what we're doing on Friday the 13th and break those out as too. And it becomes its own world, and you can set these things off. But usually it's something that's established that allows you to break that mold, and then you create something new, and everything
that's just
kind of catapults from there.
That's just it. And it's almost like, now hearing you talk about it and sort of intellectualizing it and going through it with you. And again, it's not necessarily my first choice because, you know, I'm all about, you know, taking things seriously and all that kind of stuff. But I can step out of that and see the value in this because of the character. Jason has transcended himself, much like Freddy Krueger has, right? Michael, I don't know, but Freddy and Jason certainly. Oh, what are you laughing at?
No, I'm just laughing at the comments.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're still into the fucking chicken comments. This has been going on for like the last half hour here. There's
like Frank. He's like, Vinny's never coming back. Of course I am. I love this. But keep going. I'm sorry.
Here's one here. Frank says a clockwork orange.
Jeez. The chicken's eyes are like held open.
That's right. You could have a real character on your hand here. You could be going.
Look, I can do my mini series and multiverse of the chicken.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, you need
first Friday the 13th, then the chicken verse, and then we're
if
off.
you need some clucks or a voice, I'm down.
Into the chicken verse.
That's right. That's right. What was I going to say? Yeah, and
Stop or my chicken will speak.
Even though
I'd love to see Stallone yell that out on camera.
Yes, you can give him all sorts of character. Yes, come on, here.
I need the chicken.
That's it. Bakak, bakak. Bakak, bakak.
It's Stallone and the chicken, which is voiced by Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
This is the buddy movie that needs to happen.
Stop or my chicken will cluck.
Yeah, so good.
I was saying, the point I was making was that because the character of Jason and the character of Freddy have sort of transcended themselves in a lot of ways, they're almost comic book characters, and in some ways, right, where they can sort of become these. You can do different. Like when I think of, now I'm not a comic book guy. Admittedly, I didn't, I'm sure they're great, but I just wasn't that kid that grew up with reading comic books or anything like that. But certainly I know that there's a lot of comic books, or, you know, the comic book character, like there's so many different versions of Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. And, you know, you can read this Batman, or you could read that Batman, or you could read this Batman, because the character of Batman somewhere along the way sort of, transcended himself or itself. And Jason and Freddy too have sort of done that in some ways, and maybe Jason more so because he's that zombie. I don't know. There's something about Jason that it feels almost right with him, because it's like, well, the cat's out of the bag now. Like he's not even like Freddy. At least at one point was. Well, I guess Jason was too. But yeah, there's something about that idea, and listening to you intellectualize and go through it that almost that feel I'm okay with, because he's just like, what else are you gonna do? What else are you going to do that you haven't done already? What, we're going to go back to the beginning again and tell this again? And are you going to do it really?
Did you know that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but the thing is, those characters have core ideals. We know them by just a few set of details. He drowned at a camp. Freddy was burned by the parents of Elm Street.
Right.
You know, these things. But what we like to change, and what the comics do, is they just nudge a little bit something. Like, what if he went this direction? What if it was a little bit more like that? Right. We don't have to pay attention to what Frank Miller did in Year One, or we don't need to worry about The Long Halloween, because these are comics that exist within their own world and allow to tell their own stories. Right. And characters that died in one comic can come back and live a whole new tale. You know, there's different there's different Joker, like in Flashpoint, when he goes back in time and Martha Wayne becomes the Joker, spoiler alert. Yeah. And Bruce Wayne's dad, you know, Bruce is the one that's killed. And, you know, I can't remember his dad's name because I should, but Old Man Wayne becomes Batman, and he's shooting people with guns. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the same, but different. Or like Old Man Logan. Right. Like, imagine, like, nobody wants to see a world where Professor X accidentally kills all the X-Men and everyone else. That's you know, and the bad guys reunite. You know, like finally go like, why are we all separated? Like, let's unite like they do and murder them, and they do.
Is it
you know
Thomas
what I mean?
Wayne?
Like,
I think it's Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne, Tommy Wayne.
Tommy Wayne.
If we were in New England, hey, Tommy Wayne.
That's right.
Hey, you think you're some big shot?
That's right. You think you're a millionaire? Hey, fuck you.
I'll take those fucking pearls, huh?
There's the movie right there. That's it.
Here we go.
It's 30 seconds.
You can, we can. There's Flashpoint for
right.
it.
That's right.
And so you just take the kernel of what's the origin, and you just sprout a different plant off of it. You mix it with some other different elements, and something like Never Hike Alone Never Hike Alone sheds a lot of the weight of the bad ideas that have been introduced in some of these Friday the 13th films, and says, let's pretend that never happened, because let's stick to the good idea.
That's right.
And that's only what happens. Or you can go all the way back to the origin, like Flashpoint, change a major thing and go, oh, maybe it wasn't this person, maybe it was that person. And how does this now play out? Because it creates a whole new unexpected thing, rather than, yes, going back to the beginning, remaking the same exact story, because you know who's going to be the killer in the end. You know how this is going to play out. You know that, okay, if this character is going off alone, that means they're going to get into a situation where they die. Rather than coming up with different ideas of like, how do we make this fresh, but remind people that this is still the same character. You know, you don't want to do a remake of a film and then your remake really doesn't actually call back to the original film or pay homage to it in any way. I can think of a certain, you know, like famous film that had a remake recently that really didn't have something that matched up to it. But good thing there's an Indiegogo for a film that is now kind of doing the real thing that people want.
Yeah, so that's great. I don't know what that is.
Right on the tip of my tongue. I think it's like It's Me, Bobby.
It's me, Gabriel, I think is what it is.
Okay, yeah.
You know, actually, I say that because somebody, now it's got to be a mistake, but you know, in the world of YouTube, I don't know. Somebody tried to rip me a new one in the comment section of a video a while back and was like, I hope you're fucking It's Me Gabriel fails. And I'm like, it's me Gabriel.
What are you making, a prophecy fan film? Bringing back Christopher Walken?
Allowed, come on, Gabriel.
Come on, I'm an angel.
Your shoes are tied.
How about that for a polar prophecy reference?
It's me, Gabriel.
Old
That's
school
it.
Anchor Bay bullshit right there.
That's it. And I was thinking, it's me, Gabriel. Now it's this inside joke with some of my viewers and whatnot. But no, you're right.
Me, Gabriel.
It's me,
Gabe.
It's me, Gabe. That's it.
The phone calls are way different. Just like very different. How you doing?
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, I got to.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just evolving now.
That's Arnold.
I'm inside your house.
That's right. Yeah, come on.
I'm in the attic.
We might do that because obviously that'll be added in post. So maybe I'll cut something like that
And
together.
in the blooper reel, your actors like responding to the voiceover that's not really the voiceover.
That's it. That's it. Come on.
Come on.
So what do you guys think of this? You know, you like this? This good? This good? I didn't think that's what it was going to be. Well, you know, we didn't either, but we decided to go with it.
I discovered this in post.
Yeah, you know, hey, you know, it's all right. But you're right. No, you're right. And yeah, it's just a really it's just really cool to think about that. And in terms of there really is untapped potential in just sort of saying, okay, you know what? We need to stop doing this because it's not working. And I think that maybe we should approach, especially with and it's prime real estate now, like in terms of prime time, in the sense of there's a lot of like the streaming world and the streaming wars, as you know, have just begun. Yeah, we've been watching things on streaming for a while now, and Netflix, of course, still, you know, the big player in the space at the moment, but streaming.
It's so crazy that Netflix is so far up there because I barely watch Netflix anymore.
Yeah,
I find myself on all the other platforms now because Netflix feels like it's just the same thing over and over.
They just have a lot.
Hey,
of
if you hire
junk.
me, Netflix, I got some new stuff for you. But like, I don't know. I've been loving Shudder.
Yeah, Shudder's pretty good. For every like good thing that Netflix has, they have like 20 bad things, and I think it's just saturated. It's just so much. I'm just like, oh, like I feel like a kid at the video store in the 80s. And my mom being like, come on, we got to go. And I'm like, it's too much horror, you know? So I don't know. It's just too much. But I think, you know, yeah, things have just begun in this space. And your ideas sound like that might be at least have the opportunity to explore that with Jason and Friday the 13th, because I think there's untapped potential there. I
mean, they're doing it with Chucky.
They are.
And if Chucky's got potential, then everybody else has potential too. I mean, Hellraiser would make a great series.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a huge Hellraiser fan. I can just recognize the potential.
Yeah.
The potential is there. And obviously the platforms are there now. Before, they didn't have a place for these ideas to go.
That's it.
And fan films were the place where these ideas could be explored.
Yeah.
But the problem with fan films, we don't always have the budgets that we need to execute these really high level ideas.
That's
so let's get the studios involved. And you brought up a point that I didn't touch on before, which was the thought of an Indiegogo. Now imagine a studio funded film that then opened it up to the fans to say, fans, you can support it now. You can pre-order all your stuff now. You can get your name in the credits of the actual franchise thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not just putting it in a fan film. You're getting involved. You're going to be involved. So what happens is you have a studio run crowdfunding that helps them raise money. That means less investment for the studio. That means less investment for the investors.
Right.
But they're not losing capital because ultimately the crowdfunding is not creating any money that's coming out that we're paying the investors. They're just getting, what you're getting out of it is people who are involved, committed, and then when that film comes out, they're going to actively promote it.
Yes.
That's the best thing about Indiegogo.
Yes.
and do, or Kickstarter, whatever you choose. You have this active fan base. These, you know, however many thousands of people that have backed you are now going to go out there and say, look what I'm a part of.
That's
look
it.
what I like, and help spread that word. Because we all know the biggest factor in anything that's not a Marvel movie is word of mouth.
Yeah.
If there's word of mouth that's driving the product, that's what's going to ultimately make it popular.
huge.
And that's what made Never Hike Alone popular, was word of mouth. Nobody looked at Never Hike Alone and said, oh, I mean, a few people did, but most people go, oh, fan film, and walked away. And it was only when someone said, no, stop.
Yeah.
Trust me, watch it.
Right.
And then that's how we got probably 3/4 of our fan base.
That's it.
So it's up to, and again, the fans are there to support us. And if you support the fans, they're going to support you back. They're going to feel like they're involved like never before. And you're going to be able to create exclusive content and do really cool things. And then on top of that, the movie releases, you hit wide audiences, and you're tapping into that again. So financially, ultimately what you want for these projects is that they make enough to pay off their productions, and then obviously make everyone a nice little pretty penny on the back end.
That's it.
But that, as long as the films are being paid off and you're not going into debt to make these things, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Because fans are happy, you're making money. It's like, it's just so stupid that
it's a win-win for everybody.
It is. It really is.
It really, really is.
Except for the people who have to run the Indiegogo.
Yeah, that's
they're going to have a lot of work.
It is.
But
it is a lot.
But then you, at that point, you can hire just a team just to do that, and think about how much better of a job they can do. Like, I do all my own marketing for Indiegogo, and direct the film, and do all the edit sessions, and I'll do that. So like, I literally have like 1/10 of my attention that I can put on it. If I had full-time attention, imagine what I could do.
Exactly.
So I would love to hand that off and be like, I'm going to go direct the film. Just go make us some extra money so I can blow up a few heads.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. Intel Wild sends in a $5 super chat and says, I don't know if the court stuff has been cleared up, but they need to give you $5 million and say, make us an official Friday film.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I think I could do a full feature for $5 million, considering I'd probably lose half of it to the above the line.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you could do it. Could you do a feature for $5 million, a Friday feature for $5 million?
Yeah, I mean, they make Halloween for like
10.
10? Yeah,
18 was 10. I think you could.
My feature would be all at the camp, so I'd be isolated and kind of, I'd be remaking part of the original, is what I'd be doing, but you'd have like a certain twist to it.
Yeah.
But I think people would really, really dig it and be a fresh kind of take through it. But I think $2.5 to $5 million, as long as that's my production budget and not the BS budget that goes to everybody else, but my actual shooting on location budget. I would love to walk into there and design a Friday the 13th, because I have kills that I've designed like 10 years ago that are meant for that film, that would just send people just like reeling back in their seats, like either with laughter because they're funny, or just like covering their eyes because they're so brutal. And that's ultimately kind of like, I want to bring Jason into the new era with all this new technology and show off what all these young, amazing FX artists can do, and what people are willing to see. Because what you could pull off in 1980s, look at part 7, it's cut to hell because they couldn't last one more second on blood. You know what I mean? Like part 6, the heart getting ripped out, or like the head getting crushed, all that stuff got chopped down because audience couldn't take it back then. Now audiences are like, give me more. Let's rip his head off and bounce it off the wall.
I'm surprised they haven't re-released 6 and 7 with those added back in.
The problem is that the only versions of those kills that exist are the dailies that are like put on VHS tape. So you can't bring that quality in and match it up to what's there. So it wouldn't match up. It's not in the print. All the work prints and all that stuff got tossed in the trash.
That's unfortunate.
I know, it wasn't like today where you can just archive it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Mr. Bibby 86, B-I-B-I, Bibby. Mr. Bibby 86 says, thank you for the super chat, Mr. Bibby. Says, hi, Vincent. Never Hike Alone was great. Have an idea. Never shop alone. Jason in an abandoned shopping mall. That's funny.
After the world everybody's died of COVID.
That's right.
He's looking for people to kill him. He's like, why hasn't anyone come to camp in a while? And he wanders out, and it's just the world.
And there's a lot of sad
just masks
music,
on the ground.
Very somber music.
A lot of skeletons with masks on.
That's it. Yeah. He picks one up and he falls in love with one.
He puts it on.
Would you ever do a Halloween short film?
Well, I mean, Spirit of Haddonfield, Face of Michael Myers. I don't know if I would ever direct one myself. I like producing them. It's kind of like, I know I love Jason, and then I want to support somebody who loves Michael, like yourself or Renee, who I helped out, or Stephen Wolf, who I helped out with Face of Michael Myers. We're obviously helping Cecil out with Freddy Krueger. I'm happy to be the voice of reason and kind of just overseer of production, so we know we're getting the most bang for our buck. But as far as like getting into the types of themes like they want to explore, I'm not looking at it. I can't look at it the same way as I do Jason, because I have such a connection and understanding of that character. I respect the the understanding that other and the reverence that other people have for their genres. I wouldn't want to step into something that wasn't like, I'm all about this. Like a Godzilla fan film, hell yeah, if I could afford the suit and the mini city,
That'd be amazing.
like I'd shoot that whole thing man in suit. We'd have fun. We'd do like a monster battle. Would love to do that, but Toho would sue me probably just for coming up with this idea right now.
Toho is
Probably
suing
get a
you
letter
right
to me.
now. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're ready. Like there's a lawyer with their finger.
I just got a text
What
from
is
them
his
right
number?
now.
Yeah,
It's
right.
in Japanese,
but
but I'll translate it later for you.
the only other fan film that I want to do there's two other fan films I'd love to do. I'd love to do one about Predator because I think that's doable. I think you could create a Predator one. My buddy's up at doing Jason Rising up in Portland,
Right.
Another film I'm producing, which is more focused on like a part 4 type Jason.
Right.
Again, like I'm post-death Jason. Like I'm playing in a different world. These guys are playing obviously with post-death Jason, but in a different way, the Ted White version, very much on that realm. So I'm supporting them in that vision because that's theirs. But we all love Predator too. So we've been talking about like, after you guys finish this, we should talk about doing like some type of Predator short with like Dan Kyle, like the Army Commando going against somebody in the Predator costume. And I was like, I want to play the Predator. And so that, and then the other one I want to do is more of a drama because I'd love to make a novel, what's the word? Accurate film of First Blood, the real story of Rambo and Teasel. And the way that film and the way that the book is presented and the way the story is presented in the book, rather than the way that kind of Stallone watered it down to make Rambo more of a hero, more of a sympathetic character. Where in the book, he's still sympathetic, but Rambo snaps about halfway through the book and starts murdering lots of people. Right. And they just basically broke him. Right. And it's kind of what I love about that story is that it's two characters that won't back down. It's two just thick-headed idiots being men and not being able to admit defeat or back down from the other. And it's constantly pushing each other. Right. And the book, it goes from chapter to chapter, going from Rambo's point of view to Teasel's point of view, to Rambo's point of view to Teasel's point of view. And it leaves you as a reader going, oh, Teasel's a dick. No, wait, Rambo's a dick. No, wait, Teasel's who's right and who's wrong. And ultimately they're both wrong. Yes. And it leads to a lot of trouble in that town because of these two idiots going at each other. And I think that's I took a little bit of inspiration from that and put it in Never Hike in the Snow, because that's how I treat Tommy and Rick. Right. If these two characters can work together, they might be able to solve this problem that the town has, but they hate each other. Yeah. So they get in the way of their own good ideas. And they're constantly like, if one has a good idea, the other one's working against them and it ends up negating the other. Sounds great. And so that's something, So those are the types of stories that I kind of gravitate towards. Very cool.
Very cool. Mosh Pit sends in a $5 super chat and says, one other question I'm genuinely curious about. You mentioned a script called The Defeated. Would you still consider making this a short film?
I would love to make that. The Defeated is another prequel set. I don't know. I got to figure out where it would be set, but it's set somewhere between Disappear and Manhattan. And this is how Jason came back to Crystal Lake. But it's more of a story about a John Rambo type character who is wandering and finds Crystal Lake and ends up kind of dealing with his issues by squatting in this camp and finding a new life and kind of like finding some work in town and just trying to like put a life together. And, people finding out that he's camping out at the camp to like live, and they're like, you got to get out of there. Like, what are you doing? And then that ultimately you kind of learn the story about how Ghost Jason came to be and how Jason kind of resurrected himself in a way to become the Jason as we see him in Never Hike Alone. And I want to touch upon, again, with these films, it's not just a Jason film. This is a film about PTSD. This is a film about depression and, suicide and all these different things that we can delve into as a real dramatic piece, but then add that layer of Friday the 13th to it. And you get this great kind of story to it, but then you add to the mythology of that. I mean, I want to do another short film, Pamela's story. I want to go back in time and actually, I have a short based on a blurb from Betsy Palmer describing Pamela's backstory. And I want to go into the days right after Jason drowned and went missing and explore how her mind snapped and go into that grieving and going through those changes and feeling so neglected by the world and having that kind of that moment where you see Pamela go from this innocent mother to a cold-blooded, thirsty killer who wants vengeance and revenge.
Right.
So I think that these are the types of things I want to bring to an HBO Max and say, listen, I got more than just a hacky slashy little Jason film for you. I got something that when people are going to go and watching it, they might cry. They might think differently about, loved ones, and they might think differently about these characters and about Jason and about this story, but they'll take it a little bit more serious than the way that the film was treated in the the 80s, which was a cheeseburger film just to put asses in the seats and not really have to make much sense. You know what I mean? But fans want something different now, so let's give it to them.
Yep. Very cool. The Defeated. I like the name of that too. Taproot Scoot sends in a $5 super chat, says, Vince will get noticed up top. Huge things ahead.
I hope.
I could not agree more. And then Victor Charlie sends in a $5 super chat and says, DV, Dave and Vince, were you impressed with Paranormal Activity given its low budget? What are your thoughts on how the production was able to make that low money work? Vince, I'll let you start.
I'll admit right now, I'm not a huge fan of found footage. Going into Never Hike Alone, I hated myself for it because I was like, I don't want to do found footage. I get really bored with those films. I think that Paranormal Activity would have been great as a 5-minute short. I can't sit there for 90 minutes in the same camera angle and then maybe move to a couple different angles the whole time and shoot from like what looks like a computer screen. It's just not entertaining to me. I'm not getting cinematography. I'm not getting much. And I think that it's when people do that, I mean, I know Host came out and it's doing very well, but I just have no interest in a Zoom movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here for the camera work. I'm here for like the action sequences. I'm here for the stuff about like, how did they do that? I know how they did it. They did a bunch of VFX in this frame and they hid stuff, and it's cool. It's seeing them stretch the budget and do those things like Blair Witch and all that stuff. It's great. But like the ending of Blair Witch, I was kind of like, that's it. You walk into a room and he's standing against the wall and then you fall over and that's it.
Yeah.
Where's the witch? I want to see the witch.
Right.
Show me the witch. And then the next movie, they were like, witch, and it sucked. But
That's right.
So the only found footage film that I loved was As Above or So Below, because it moved through space and it had great cinematography, even though they were locking cameras to people's heads and saying that little lights had cameras in them, even though that's BS.
Right.
But it was a great technique to say, like, here's your camera, put it on your head. It's got a light on it. And it was like, now I'm moving. Now I can jump to different angles. I mean, they're literally positioning characters with their camera on their head. So you have like a great 2-shot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's when I start to go, now you're thinking.
Yeah.
Now you're putting front. If you're just planting a camera and going found footage, I'm kind of like, I get bored after 5 minutes. Right. I mean, literally, like, I'm just like, I can't. Show me something else.
Interesting. No, it's all valid points. For me, I actually, I like the idea of found footage, but unfortunately, most of the found footage for me has been, we're saturated. And I find that most of it is not very good. I find that I have trouble. And there's very few of them. And I'm trying to think of any I can't really think of any on the top of my head. But when it's done well, it's done well.
Roll Hunters is good.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I think it's a Swedish film. That's really good. That's more like when it's a mockumentary type thing. If it's like a faux documentary, those are great. Leslie Vernon, another kind of
or the what was that one? The Last Exorcism? Was that one The Last Exorcism?
Yeah, that's another one too. That's like, it feels like you're engaged a little bit more.
It feels more real. And like the found footage, like in regards to Paranormal Activity, I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. I actually saw the second one, funny enough, in the theater. I don't know why. I don't know who I was with. Anyway, and I liked it better, I think, because there was more going on. I think there's something there. There's something there that can, because I like feeling like it's real. And if the acting, quote unquote, is good, you can lose yourself in something that isn't real, but feels real. But I think found footage is becoming very, I'm not saying every found footage movie, but I find that the more saturated the found footage market gets, the more overly produced I think they become. And I think they work best when they're very raw and just sort of like it literally was just found. And it was one of the things that the issue I had with the Blair Witch movie from about 4 years ago, which was supposed to be the direct sequel to the original. And I wasn't a huge fan of the original, but what the original had going for it was it was very raw. It was very sort of bare bones, and it did feel real. And
the marketing was amazing.
Oh my God. I mean, I
felt like you were watching a bunch of people go missing.
Yeah.
It had that cannibal Holocaust like feel, like they had, you know what I mean? It's like,
yep. And it was 99. I was 20. I remember, the internet was in its relative infancy then in terms of this kind of thing. And it was like, I mean, my mom rented it because she thought it was real. It was brilliant marketing. And, but when Blair Witch, not the Book of Shadows, but the one that came out in 2016, just called Blair Witch.
With the drone in it.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, this is kind of funny the way that they worked that in. Yes. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, yep. But I remember thinking like, it felt too produced. It felt too, and even the sound mix, like I'm hearing like whatever the witch is, I'm thinking it sounds like it was just like mixed and mastered like right here in my studio. It's like, it doesn't sound like it's within the space of the environment. And I think that what was so great about, to give Blair Witch some credit, the original, when she's running through, oh my God, you hear that? Like, I mean, it's in the space, it's in the environment. I can hear all of the voices bouncing off of or not bouncing off of.
Yeah.
In the Blair Witch film from a few years ago, the witch or whatever, it sounds like it's been professionally mixed and mastered. And so I have this, I don't know if it's a love-hate relationship, maybe it's a lukewarm hate relationship with found footage. I think there's potential that's never really been fully realized. And I think somebody glommed onto something, an idea, and ran with that. And that's every found footage movie we get for the most part. And yet there's probably this other pool over here that's just waiting to kind of see what we can do. But I agree with you that the documentary style is probably some of my favorite. Like, yeah.
And this is, I mean, and obviously this is all taste. Some people love the experience of a found footage movie. Yep. They like I said, like Host is doing really, really well. And like, it's not that I
haven't seen it. So
it's not that I'm sitting here going like, oh, or complaining about it. I'm just saying, I know how I react and how my attention span is and the things that lock me into films.
Right.
And I think that ultimately, like, it's just good when you got a good story of good characters. Right. And there was a film I saw a good friend of mine, Michelle, made, trying to remember the name of it. Did really well on the festival circuit, but it was about a gamer who's hosting a live Twitch stream that ends up, it's called Live Scream by Michelle Inuanto. Something like, I'm sorry, I butcher her name all the time. And it's like watching a Twitch stream as this kid is going in the game, and as he fails to follow what the game is telling him to do, like his streamers die.
Right.
And so he has to protect his streamers, and it's all like basically one take the entire movie, and you're watching him, but you also get to watch him play the game, which is pretty cool. So you go into the game. Yeah. And she designed the whole game herself. It's not like, it doesn't look like, like Ghost of Tsushima, but you get the idea.
Right. I got
you. And it's really intuitive. And I think that was cool. And it's all, it comes down to the performances and stuff like that. I think you can win people over with it. Yeah. It's just a matter of, I think, Paranormal Activity had like an interesting way of like putting you in a haunted house. The experience is you're going to be in a haunted house with this family, and you're going to experience the things that they are experiencing. Right. And I think what I want out of these films, and ultimately what ends up hindering these films, is the budget of that. I just want to see a little bit more. Right. Like, I don't watch a ghost film to kind of see like a door swing open every now and then,
right, or
like a bed sheet get lifted up. Yes. Like, I want to see things that you can only do in films. Like, I want to see things that only exist in that thing, and I want to see it get built up to that. And that's where my taste is. And so I think that that's often where I think found footage, because it's such a cheap avenue to make a film, it usually means like, I mean, it's part of the reason why I did Never Hike Alone the way I did, was I needed to do that. But our goal with Never Hike Alone was, okay, when we go into found footage, what does found footage mean to Friday the 13th? What is the experience in which found footage works with Friday the 13th? And the way that it works is the experience of encountering Jason on camera and experiencing like that feeling of him popping out live on somebody as you're watching it, when feeling like it's you walking through the room. That's great when it happens once. Right. When you do it 8, 9, 10 times in a movie, it's not really going to work. And I read I listened to an interview with David Bruckner, the guy who was supposed to direct the found footage Friday the 13th before it turned into the 3D version that never got made back in like 2015, 2016.
Right.
His idea was that most of the characters were going to stay alive throughout the film. It was going to be like this. Jason was hunting them throughout the film, and then they finally got to one area at the end, and then all in this one final sequence, Jason was going to kill everybody because they only had the one camera, and then you were going to watch the final scene play out with the one character.
Right.
Which, for all intents and purposes, that's a very clever way of doing it.
It is
definitely a different Friday the 13th film. But I think Bruckner's a really great director as it is. So I think we missed out on a really great Friday with him not at the helm of one. That 2017 3D script is really good. Nick Ancosta wrote it, one of the guys behind Channel Zero. And then they tried to make that 2018 version. That script was something else. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But I agree. I think there is potential there. It just is. And like you said, it's taste, right? I mean, everybody has their tastes, everybody has what they like and what they don't like. Listen, Vince, we've been going for 2 hours already. Really? This has been amazing. I have to, not only do I have to go to the washroom, I have some things I have to do this afternoon, but let me just get a couple non-super chat questions in here, because there's been a few people that have been asking them. Oh, and there is a super chat one that comes in from The Horror Show. I'm assuming that's Cecil over there.
I know that guy.
I know that guy. What a fucking idiot, that guy. Jesus, can't stand that guy. Just kidding, Cecil. Don't fire me. I forgot to mention Dylan's new nightmare is found footage now. Freddie finds it and he pops it in the VCR and he plays it for everybody. I think that's how it works.
Smile for the camera, bitch.
Oh, that would be so awful. That'd be so awful. Edwin A. Sordo says, hey, Vince, what other genres of film do you like besides horror?
Everything. Westerns, space odysseys. I would say everything but romantic comedies. I direct them all. Yeah. Animation, comedy. I really, epics. Yeah. Superhero films. I could throw any idea at me and I'll run with it and make something cool.
Love it. Let me see here. Robert Thidoff says, Dave and Vince, did you hear Sly Stallone is releasing the director's cut of Rocky IV by the end of 2020? I did. Yes, I did. And there's footage in there. There's behind the scenes footage I think we haven't seen before. I think
there's clips that he was. Apparently, what I read was a few months ago he shared some cut scenes, and he was like, "I don't know why I didn't use this," and he's like, and apparently he's cutting out the robot. We're losing the sexist robot.
Oh,
yeah, he's like, I don't like the robot no more. It's not really a good idea. His daughters were probably like, Dad, this is not going to fly.
Maybe that's what it is.
Polly getting served hand and foot by a British robot maid.
Yeah, but it's a robot. It's fun. I know. But you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I mean,
I just said that they should add a few more montages. Just get that guy back, write some more songs.
I think the montage should be extended by 10 minutes.
Lifting logs and punching snow.
Yeah. I think he should. Yeah, and
train with a few chickens.
Yes. Few clucks, few chickens. That's been the highlight of the chat room today.
Bring back the chicken chase scene from part 2. Yeah.
That's right. But it's Stallone now as his age.
It's a Russian chicken.
It's a Russian chicken.
In Russia, in Soviet Russia, chicken chases you.
Oh my God, that's it. There we go, folks. he's earned the rim shot here today. This is you. And then there's a shot of 74-year-old Sylvester Stallone being chased by a chicken with a Russian.
Oh yeah, the de-aging process.
Yes. That's right.
From the Irishman treatment just to pick up this new scene.
That's it. That's it.
Oh my God.
That would be
Snyder
amazing.
cut.
The Sly cut. That's what it is.
$30 million worth of reshoots for Rocky IV recut.
That's right. And just for that scene. And it's added on to the montage. So the montage is now 38 minutes in Rocky IV.
A full scene. Oh no, Mick's dead at this point. But maybe they bring back Mick in CGI as a ghost to talk to him.
No, maybe Mick is the chicken.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. They superimpose it in the corner of the ring the entire match, and it's just like clucking
it's
and
clucking. Come on, Rock. Come on. Nick the chicken.
Got the little beanie on.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
I hope Stallone sees this.
I hope he does. I think he's a fan. I don't know. Probably not. Nick sends in a $5 super chat and says, Vince, you mentioned you're a big fan of the horror comedy genre. What's your favorite one? Also, what's your favorite go-to standalone comedy?
Oh, wow. I would, there's a ton. I mean, I love Shaun of the Dead, obviously. That's a great one. There's a film that just came out called Scare Package that you should definitely see. It's an anthology film. It has a lot of great comedy in it. I saw it last year at Telluride Horror Show. It's streaming right now on Shudder. I highly recommend that one.
What's it called again?
It's called Scare Package.
Scare Package. Okay, I'm going to check it out.
It's really funny. And then there was a film that I saw from Troma, believe it or not, called Mutant Blast. And that is probably one of my favorite films that I've seen in the last year and a half.
Wow.
It's not out yet, but when it comes out, you guys got to watch it because it has some of the most ridiculous, like it's not typical.
Right.
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Trauma, but this one I was like, I'm not a huge Trauma fan, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. And the ending, the way it unravels and it just becomes like out of this world, I was dying the entire time.
Wow.
I like having a good laugh with it. So yeah, I would recommend those two. Scare Package now and whenever Mutant Blast releases.
Awesome. Frank Riker sends a $2 super chat like he does towards the end of every show, and he says, for the sexy chickens in the chat. Of course, he doesn't usually say chickens, but today it's chickens. You are all McChickens now, McRae. You're all my McChickens. You're all my McChickens.
The McChicken hour.
That's it. Well, listen, Vince, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on here, doing this again.
Always.
I mean, it's always a blast to talk to you and talk shop, and your trailer is awesome, to say the least, and it gets me really excited to see Never Hike in the Snow on October the 13th, folks. Tuesday, October the 13th, 2020 is when Never Hike in the Snow will be released. Hopefully this pandemic can fuck off soon so we can get started on Dylan's new Nightmare sooner rather than later, because that's going to be a lot of fun. I have seen the progress. We can't say anything, but let's just say that I'm speechless.
Cecil will take back his super play.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want Cecil to be angry. But amazing. I mean, I'm so excited to get down to business on that as well. And because that's going to be wild. And I mean, I watch with excitement to see what you do next, and certainly the progression of this series, I think, is just amazing. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge, my man.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. I love talking to you, Dave, even on or off air. So anytime you want to have me on to spend 2 hours, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us here on episode 98 of McRae Live. And remember, the It's Me, Billy Indiegogo campaign is still up. It's still active. It has, let me see here. What are we down to? We are down to
38 hours?
38 hours left. 38 hours left. We're sitting at 104%, but there's still time left. We have reached our budget and then some, but there's still hoodies and hats and t-shirts and Blu-rays and posters available. So make sure you head on over there. You got 38 hours left, and then it's done, folks. It is done. So, and it's been a hell of a ride. This has been a hell of a ride, too. And, of course, I thank everybody who has donated to the campaign and believes in this project as much as we do. You guys are awesome. I will be back Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 99 of McRae Live. Wow. And Wayne Gretzky will be on. No, he's not going to be on. I don't know who the hell I'm going to get on, but it'll probably just be me. But anyway, yeah, that'll do it for us. And so just have a great rest of your day, and Vince and I will talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. Cheers.